170 COVID patients in public hospitals last night, up from 291 a month ago. Numbers in ICU rose above 100 for the first time since March. In Letterkenny, there were 16 COVID patients in the hospital, 4 of them in ICU. Dr. David Nabarro of the WHO doesn't favour national lockdowns, but he says local restrictions could be required.
Well, local basis, I think, is the approach that I would like to see used. You see, if there is a big spike in cases and a very heavy burden on the health services in a particular location, that's when some kind of localised movement restriction can be considered. And I don't see that as actually something to be worried about. I see that as the correct response to a surge in COVID cases.
Figures up to midnight on Monday show Donegal had the 10th highest COVID rate in the country, with a 14-day incidence rate of 644 compared to a national rate of 587. Around 56,000 jobs could be lost across rural Ireland because of the government's new greenhouse emission targets. That's according to an analysis by KPMG for the Farmers Journal. It says if emissions were cut by 30% over 10 years, it could result in a €4 billion loss in economic output. The IFA's Deputy President Brian Rush says rather than blunt restrictions, farmers need help to effectively tackle climate change.
Farmers are very focused on the challenge, on the climate change challenge, and they're like, I've never in the last couple of years, like every meeting I go to, every farmer I talk to wants more information. They're hungry for new technology. How do we adjust our businesses? How do we play our part? But you know, farmers can do only so much before it starts to impact on their ability to stay in business, and that's the fear.
Almost 20% of medical card holders across the country were prescribed antidepressants last year, with over 10,000 in Donegal alone. Nationally, almost 317,000 people received medication under the scheme out of nearly 1.6 million medical card holders. Dr. Austin O'Carroll says the high levels are partly due to a lack of counselling services, and he says while they don't necessarily want to, GPs are prescribing medication because they have no alternative.
We know that antidepressant medication is not that successful in mild to moderate depression, of which most of these people have. It's really only significantly useful in people with severe depression. So if you're asking me why do GPs prescribe it, because of the huge amount of people coming in with mental illness and the few other options available. And that mental illness is caused by the socioeconomic conditions that they live in.
Largely dry this morning with some hazy sunny spells developing by this afternoon. We'll see a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of the showers will be heavy. Temperatures this afternoon hitting 12 to 14 degrees Celsius in a light to moderate south to southwest breeze. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
If you're pregnant, a COVID-19 vaccine will help to protect you and your baby. Most people who get COVID-19 while pregnant have mild to moderate symptoms, but you are more at risk of being very unwell or needing hospital treatment. It is safe to get your vaccine at any stage of pregnancy. Before you get your COVID-19 vaccine, make sure you talk to your doctor or midwife. And you'll find more information on hse.ie. From the HSE.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. For all your solid fuel needs at the keenest prices. 9137 400 or nationalfuels.ie. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. 5 minutes past 9 this Thursday, the 28th of October. You're very welcome back. You're very welcome along, to the 9 till noon show. And a big thanks to Donald, stood in for me for the last couple of days. The lines are open for you right now, by the way. To get involved in the programme, you can WhatsApp or text 086 60 25000, 086 60 25000. Your calls to 07491 25000. If you want to comment via email, it's comments@highlandradio.com. And good morning. If you're joining us online to watch the programme, we're broadcasting live on Facebook /Highland Radio News and Sport, or the Highland Radio page. And if you prefer YouTube, go to Highland Radio Ireland and watch us there. And feel free to subscribe to the channels if you wish, and to share them if you're enjoying them. All right, let's look at the newspapers this morning. It's Thursday, so lots of papers out this morning, starting with the Tyrconnell Tribune. Major carbon budget cuts coming on top of the CAP deal have added to the financial pressure facing agriculture in the past week, with angry farm lobbies branding the strategies as unworkable. ICSA President Dermot Kelleher says he cannot understand how the minister will agree with the direction of his department, where Suckler Cows, which involves over 60,000 farmers, is getting about the same allocation as the organic scheme, which currently covers some 1,800 farmers. The Donegal Democrat Get the Flu Jab Now is their headline. People in Donegal are being urged to get the flu vaccine amid fears that a more severe strain of respiratory illness could be in circulation. GPs in the county have been inundated with people suffering from respiratory illness in the last 3 weeks, and there are fears some of them could be affected by a more severe strain of flu, which has been detected in Europe. And there's lots of stuff going around. I wasn't feeling fantastic over the last couple of days, kind of, a bit of muscle pain, sinuses, which I never really had problems with before. Thankfully, it's clearing now, but lots of different things going around, it seems. Donegal GP Dennis McCauley said it will be a couple of weeks before tests come back that would identify the strain. That's the AH3N2 strain that, when it does come, causes more morbidity, more sickness and more death. So it's just a case as people are as well. Of course, get your jab if you're your flu jab, but it's around every winter to some extent as well, though they do fear it's a little bit stronger this winter, but hopefully those who are most vulnerable will be best protected. The Derry People Donegal News this morning: a woman whose husband is battling liver and lung cancer said the cancellation of oncology clinic in Letterkenny University Hospital for a second week because of nursing staff shortages is extremely worrying. Anne Blair and her husband Danny live in Gweedore. Danny was first diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago at the age of 63 following a routine colon check, and we'll be speaking to that family later on in the programme. The Derry News today, and it's sad news from the world of music, but general community, of course. Tributes have been paid to Derry jazz legend Gay McIntyre. He died in the early hours of yesterday morning, aged 88. The alto sax and clarinet player was a huge favourite with jazz fans across the world in a career that spans 70 years. Can you imagine entertaining and thrilling people for 7 decades? What an achievement by this man. Nat King Cole, Aka Bilk and Louis Stewart were some of the big names of jazz that Gay rubbed shoulders with, while his music and style of playing won him many fans within the jazz scene. Tributes are being led by the Mayor of Derry City and Strabane District Council, Alderman Graham Wark, who 2 weeks ago met with Gay to announce that next year's City of Derry Big Band and Jazz Festival would be a recognition of his contribution to music. So what a beautiful honour that will be for Mr. McIntyre, but also nice that he was informed a couple of weeks ago that that would be the case. The Farmers Journal: 56,400 rural jobs on the line, their headline. Rural Ireland risks facing a €4 billion hit to the economy and the loss of 56,400 farm-related jobs if a 30% reduction in carbon emissions is imposed on agriculture by 2030. The stock figures are included in a KPMG Economic Impact Assessment commissioned by the Irish Farmers Journal of various options available to the government to reduce national emissions by 51%. The setting of national carbon budgets by the Climate Change Advisory Council on Monday clears the way for government to announce sectorial emission ceilings next week. We had Charlie McConaughey on last week. He wasn't in the mood to clarify that figure of 30% or a range between 21 and 30%, but the Irish, the Farmers Journal there seem pretty sure that's the way things are going. The Irish Independent: parents have been told to cut down on children's activities outside school amid a worrying COVID surge in those aged 5 to 12. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Ronan Glynn said parents should ask if their children need to be engaged in everything they're engaging in. If your children are going on play dates or engaging in sport, think of all the other activities they are engaging in. He did not pinpoint any one activity that should be put on hold. It's actually really quite confusing to follow, which would spark confusion among parents. The overall aim is to reduce contacts and the risk of COVID spread. So is he saying don't send your children to meet up with other children in each other's homes? Is he saying don't send them to play football or whatever sport they might be playing? There's no clear guidance there. Anyway, meanwhile, ESRI research has revealed slippage on hand washing, wearing a face mask and social distancing. Around 20% of people said they rarely or never do the basics. I mean, come on, we don't need a global pandemic to wash our hands, do we? It should be something we're doing all the time to avoid us picking up germs or passing them on. Forget COVID for a second, but I can't believe it took this to sort of encourage us to wash our hands. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Tony Holohan did not rule out NPHET considering restrictions, as none of them ever do. Same old question. Of course they're not going to rule it out, but what he did say is that it's very unlikely there would be any further restrictions or circuit breaker lockdowns or anything like that. But of course, no NPHET or government member is going to completely rule out restrictions. He said vaccines saved thousands of people from serious illness, but we're not performing as well as he thought to block transmission. But we've been talking about that for months now, while NPHET haven't been speaking it publicly, of course. The figures are they do reduce the transmission. I think 63% reduction in transmission, but clearly, obviously, you can still transmit if vaccinated. The Irish Times tells us that the government's scrapping of a cap on lorry drivers from outside Europe allowed to work in Ireland will not fill a huge shortage as a nightmare looms for the haulage industry in the run-up to Christmas. Hauliers have warned. Is it a case that there's a lot of money on the table in the UK, in Britain? Is a lot of Irish lorry drivers maybe going over there for the big bucks, and now we are opening up to lorry drivers outside Europe, which gives them an opportunity. It's fine to fill vacancies in Ireland for jobs that have been vacated by Irish drivers or Irish-based drivers heading over to Britain. Anyone inside the industry, give us an insight into that. Minister of State for Business, Employment and Retail, Damien English, said an overhaul of the employment permit system for workers from outside the European Economic Area will allow more haulage drivers into Ireland. The haulage industry estimates a shortage of between 3,000 and 4,000 drivers. More builders, hospitality managers, horticultural workers, dairy farm assistants and meat processors are also to be allowed the work permits under changes which will be announced today. Mr. English is abolishing a quota of 320 for employment permits granted to HGV drivers from outside the EEA. So obviously plenty of work out there. The Irish Daily Mail, hospitals triple blow. Hundreds of hospital procedures, as we've been hearing, are now being cancelled each week as the health system struggles to cope with waves of COVID cases, rising numbers of patients on trolleys and healthcare staff out sick. It comes as Health Minister Stephen Donnelly warned yesterday that COVID cases are going to get worse before they get better. Now, we added, I think it was last year or since the start of the pandemic, 10,000 staff to the HSE. I think it went from 120,000 staff to 130,000 staff. Where did that? Were they employed on the front line to assist in this crisis? How, despite warnings back in Bertie Ahern's era, going back 3 or 4 years, I think 2018, consultants said, "Look, we've only got a couple of hundred beds in ICU. We need double that," and that was without COVID. We need double that, and yet we're sitting at 292 ICU beds for a population of 5 million plus. It's really quite remarkable, isn't it, that that's all we have, because there's an awful lot of other reasons that people might need an ICU bed, but still 292 ICU beds. And every decision we make, and although of course a lot of what we're doing is to save lives, and we've been doing that and we've been doing it well, but the pressure on the ICUs particularly is coming from not a whole 10 per million cases, 10 cases per 1 million is what's causing such an issue in the ICUs. We should have more capacity, shouldn't we? And I think in the government's announcement, budget time was to increase it up to 340, but that's not near enough. Consultants in 2018 were saying we need double the 250 odd there were then, and we're still going to be a long way short of that. On to the Irish Daily Star. Final score for touts. Politicians have finally shown the red card to greedy touts cashing in on Ireland Games, but the ban will only kick in after the sold-out World Cup qualifier against Portugal. Tickets for next month's match are selling for €377 online. Now, we talked about this on at least 4 or 5 occasions before it was introduced, but it has to be enacted for particular events or particular venues. Like, did no one see this coming? Anyway, I suppose if you've got €377 to pay to watch that, you might not be too worried. The Sun today, parents are being warned about the dangers of children playing with Halloween sparklers. Now, I think sparklers are kind of seen as innocent, aren't they? And and the safest kind of firework. I'm not saying that's the case, but I think that's a perception. Experts say they can cause kids catastrophic burns or youngsters to lose a hand. Consultant plastic surgeon Dr. Anne McKenna at Bon Secours Hospital in Cork said at least 1 or 2 children a year require amputation as a result of the colourful handheld firework. She yesterday explained as the wire is melting, it reaches a temperature of up to 1600 degrees. These are quite magical as we're looking at them, but as the sparkler is going lower and lower, small children don't realise the danger it is and they don't let go. And a couple of amputations a year, that plastic surgeon is reporting seeing. Excuse the rattling, sorry, the paper just won't fold back to the way it was. And this is going to be good news for it's going to be good news for employers, but it's going to be no news for people who operate their businesses, as most people would see it fair. Because you would imagine, wouldn't you, that you don't need legislation to ensure that people working in tough industries get the tips that the people leave for them. But the government has announced plans to ensure all workers, including waiters and waitresses, keep tips paid by customers. Leo Varadkar said Cabinet had given approval to proposed laws that would stop them being used by employers to partly cover wages. The legislation will also require businesses to clearly display their policy on how both card and cash tips, gratuities and service charges are distributed. The Taoiseach added the new law will for the first time give workers legal protection over tips. It'll mean that any tips received cannot be counted towards an employee's basic pay. They must be counted as additional and separate. And of course, you know, some businesses keep them. Some businesses say, look, that's part of your wages, but we take it. Others will maybe say, look, we pool them and that's what we'll pay for your Christmas party out of. Well, I think anyone leaving a tip in a bar or restaurant wants that to go to the person that served them or their work colleagues, and I think a lot of businesses ensure that's the case. So they're not going to be too worried about this new legislation, but it's the others that don't ensure that that might be somewhat worried. Right, 18 minutes past 9. It is the 9 till noon show. We're going to be joined by our first guest after these.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
We all love Irish music and the artists that make it. To celebrate and support Irish artists, we're taking part in Irish Music Month this October. We're playing more Irish music than ever before and funding Irish artists nearly €100,000 this month to play and perform for us on independent radio stations across the country. This is Irish Music Month. Irish Music Month is supported by the BAI Sound and Vision Fund and by Excel Retail, offering a great deal more at your local store.
All your effort, all your exam cramming, all your drive, all your natural ability, all your can-do positivity, all your wildest dreams and one-day claims, all leads you to one place. Allstate, where career opportunities are endless. Have it all at Allstate. Search allstateni.com today.
McGinley Furniture's new showroom in Letterkenny now has more of everything. More suites, beds, dining room and occasional furniture. Also more rugs, mirrors and lamps, all available for immediate delivery. And with extra space, there's also more new stock on display. For a beautiful addition to your home. There's more than ever to choose from at McGinley's Furniture on the Joe Boner Link Road, Letterkenny, and at mcginleysfurniture.com.
At Tesco, our contactless home delivery service now has extra slots available. Get your shop freshly picked and delivered to your door. Shop online now and book a slot at tesco.ie. Tesco. Every little helps.
Century Complex has something for everyone. Treat yourself to a tasty meal at Backstage Bar and Grill, an exciting movie at Century Cinemas, and Century Play is now open. Get in touch with our team on 07491 21976 or check out our website centurycinemas.ie for more information on Century Complex.
Around the Northwest and the Highland Radio Outside broadcast team are live this Friday from Callahan's Electrical Letterkenny to celebrate their 50th year in business. There'll be lots of giveaways in store and online this Friday at Callahan's Electrical Letterkenny.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
21 minutes past 9. 1 in every 5 medical card patients are on antidepressant medication, according to Freedom of Information figures. Almost 317,000 patients got the drugs under the scheme last year. Now, in Donegal, at least 10,000 medical card holders were prescribed antidepressants last year, along with Kerry, Meath, Limerick, Galway, Waterford and Wexford. To discuss this, we're joined on the programme now by GP and Chair of the GP Committee with the Irish Medical Organisation, Dr. Denis McCauley. Thank you very much for joining us, Denis, as always.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, I mean, from a population of 158,000, and I'm not sure how many of those might be over 18, but to have over 10,000, is it prescriptions or individuals for antidepressants in Donegal last year? It seems a very big number.
It does, and I think I'd like to see the research in that to define exactly what you said. Were there 10,000 people on antidepressants, or were there 10,000 scripts? I think that
it's likely to be the latter, isn't it? Because otherwise we're up in a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 kind of ballpark.
It would be extraordinary. When Caroline mentioned to me this morning, I just went, that's very high. Now, first thing to say is that the antidepressants are used primarily for depression and anxiety, but they're also used for other things. They're used for pain relief in certain neural pains. They're used for bladder control. They're used for migraine. They're used for a whole range of things. So when you're on an antidepressant, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've been treated for anxiety or depression. Is there a lot of prescribing of antidepressants in general practice? Yeah, there is. I think there is a lot of psychological disease presently in the county. I think people talk about long COVID, but I think the psychological effect of the COVID emergency has been very striking. I think a lot of people who are generally anxious are much more anxious. I think people who need social interaction with people and didn't get that has affected their mood also. I think we're all slightly disappointed with the figures going up in the last month. We thought we were sorted. Now we're not. It's beginning to feel a bit like Christmas, as in last Christmas. You know, we're releasing. We're actually making it the social restrictions less at a time that it's going up. So we're all sort of a bit. So there's a lot of psychological issues there. Now, antidepressants is a very safe and effective way of treating those, but it's generally in the context of there's social things we could. If you present to me with a psychological issue, you would look at the whole person in a whole to see what you could do. So unfortunately, at times you don't have access to the other therapies that you would like.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, is much of this, a GP wanting to send someone out the door with something to make them better, but they don't have a list of options to refer them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it could be CBD or what is it, CBT, or other services, or even the option just to talk it through with someone. People are sent on their way with these drugs, which aren't perfect either, are they? I mean, you can have bounce back anxiety. There can be dependency there. They're not a perfect solution by any stretch to the issues of anxiety or depression, are they?
Yeah, there's a number of things you mentioned there, but just to talk about the safety of them. Generally, the SSRIs are generally quite safe. Now, they're still strong medicines. They're generally not addictive, in that when you want to stop them, some of the drugs you have to come off over about 2 months, but others you can just stop on the day. And then there's the issue: can they cause suicide, or do they prevent suicide? That argument has been won. Antidepressants prevent suicide. I would know that. I think that there is always a situation when you're starting these drugs. They're much milder than they used to be, but you still have to monitor the patient on them, particularly in the first month. If I start you on it, some people can cruise through the first few weeks. Some people get more agitated than they would have been if they weren't on the drug.
But is it not the case that in that period, though, it has to afford the person the space, really, to sort themselves out? Do you know what I mean? To sort of maybe address the underlying triggers for their anxiety or depression. And they're very effective if they give people that space just for a bit of clarity of thought. But if it's more severe than that, people obviously could get very anxious at the idea of them no longer having access to this type of medication as well.
I think it's a very broad topic. I think that quite a lot of people are depressed because of social stressors. Life can be very sad. They can be taking too much alcohol. They can be living in a situation that is very stressful. Unfortunately, you can sometimes become depressed because it's Tuesday. It's in your genes that it actually happens. So there isn't always a situation that you can solve so that they can feel better. There's quite a lot of people with perfectly normal lives, particularly ladies in the 50s. They suddenly things are going fine, and then they have a significant psychological reaction for no particular reason, and it is to do with hormones. It's to do with their actual genes, and those people really need treatment. And that as you say, the actual social issues are not an issue. So therefore, the actual treatments that we're looking for are pharmacological and physiological, and the physiological treatments are not as freely accessible as I would like. So therefore, I am time duty bound to give medicines more often than I would like, but always appropriately and always monitoring, always on the proviso that they're generally safe if they're monitored. And as I would say to patients, that at times it sounds the worst that'll happen is that it won't work. If it works, if it doesn't, I would stop it.
I mean, so we look at this FOI, and it's very worthwhile because it gives an opportunity to talk about this type of stuff. So I'm not in any way criticizing that. But, our perception of antidepressant medication, we probably read this headline and jump to a space whereby we think this is terrible. Not so many people should be on this. There must be something serious going on. But from a medical perspective, is this shocking to you? Is this just, this is the same as prescribing, a daily tablet for gout or whatever it might be? Do you know what I mean? What's the medical attitude when you see figures like this?
I think there's two things. As I said at the beginning, we both sort of said we'd like to see the actual breakdown of these figures to understand. But then in the context of, are there more antidepressant prescriptions than I would like? Yes.
Okay.
But that is for other reasons. So it actually highlights it. But once again, it is I would like to have access to other therapies, but at the same time, I have great confidence in antidepressants. They've changed people's lives, and they're a very effective drug when they're used appropriately.
Okay, and in terms of the other conditions you mentioned, is it in different doses that they're employed?
Yeah. For instance, there's a child, say children with migraine. There's a drug that's about sort of 15th the dose of what you would normally need. And also for bladder problems, small doses are highly effective. Change people's lives, even overnight. Yesterday I had a patient who just said that one tablet sorted me out completely, and it's very easy. So it's very rewarding when they work. As I say, I would like it to be part of an armory of treatments that I have. I'm very confident that it as a treatment, but at other times I would like to use other treatments. As you said, cognitive behavioral therapy is a wonderful treatment. And there's when you have somebody who is depressed, there's talking therapies, there's drug therapies. They're all useful, and I would ideally love to use both of them. It isn't that one is competing with the other. So I think it's good to highlight it. It also highlights the fact that life is tough at the present minute. And I think it highlights that there are other therapies that we don't have access to. I think those are the major points.
But also, I think what people out there who don't go to the GP and they're not feeling well should understand that lots of people are in the same boat, and it is very important to speak to your GP and have a conversation with them to find out if there is something that can be done for you as well. Because as you say, lots of people are feeling unwell or anxious or whatever it might be mentally. Some are coming forward, and we're talking about those now, but there's an awful lot of people maybe are trying to struggle through this on their own, and maybe they should realise that lots of their fellow county people in the region are the same, and they should reach out and seek help. Just as an aside to that, and also to COVID, what are we seeing in our GP surgeries? Lots of things going around, Dennis. Lots of people reporting feeling this, that, and the other. Is there trends out there? What are we seeing?
I think the trend is, number one, it's really busy, and I apologize in advance to people trying to ring their actual GP. It's really busy. We're seeing more people than we've ever seen. There's more need there. But just as a brief rain check of what is happening, there's another big virus floating around. Another virus floating around at the present, a thing called RSV. It's making your children wheeze, cough, have a temperature. Unfortunately, you should still get them tested to make sure it isn't COVID. The flu is coming. Winter is coming, as Jon Snow would say, and the flu is coming. It's the flu, but it's the sort of nastier form of flu that is coming. It's H3N2 or N2. I forget which one, but it's an A1. It is an influenza A. It is a particularly pernicious one. I would ask everybody who, particularly the at-risk group, to get a flu vaccine. Now, I know you're vaccinated out at this stage, but the flu vaccine will stop you getting a significant flu this winter, and that's very useful because it'll help you, but it'll also help the health services in that you won't have to contact your GP or you may not have to go to the hospital.
We saw a huge uptake last year, or was it the year before? It's kind of confusing now, of the flu vaccine. You want to see that again this year?
Yeah, it was last year. Everybody was very keen. It was, as I said, it's a very pure year last year. There was no other static. We only concentrated on one thing: your COVID vaccine and your flu vaccine. This year, there's an awful lot of other things going on. I must admit, we had to encourage our over 80s to come in to get their booster vaccine, which I found quite surprising. There was a subgroup we had to chase, whereas not last year they would have been knocking the door down. There will be soon a rollout. We're in discussions. It's unfortunately quite prolonged discussions with the HSE about the rollout of this over 60s and the over 70s booster vaccine. We hope to have word about that today. I would hope for my.
What's colleagues. The stumbling block? What's the hold? Why are they?
It's just the organisation of it. It's nothing that isn't that we're in sort of negotiating. We're just trying to get the actual coordination of it right so that the messaging can be very straightforward. So there's no confusion. That that everybody knows exactly what to do.
Because it is, as you say, obviously the government very much trying to get people to get a first jab. They're also trying to get those with the first jab to get their second jab. There's a cohort then to get a booster jab, which will be extended, and then trying to fit into there the argument that flu is back, because still. I think for lots of people, where did flu go? And you still see that being posted on the internet, and I think it's really quite understandable why we didn't see much flu last year. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to try and message and to reach, especially those that would benefit most from.
And that's why we want to get this, the 60s and the 70s, very clear. This is what you do, rather than say, what do I do? It'll be very clear. So hopefully that will be, I'll be surprised if we don't have word on that today, but I said that yesterday morning also. So hopefully we shall see.
Okay, thank you very much, as always. Very much appreciated. That is Dr. Denis McCauley. 086 60 25,000. That is the text line, 086 60 25,000. Or WhatsApp. So give us a call on 07491 125,000. If you're watching us on social media, leave your comments there as well. Right, just sitting back here in despair, says a texter. I really hope you can help. COVID numbers are up. Whispers are of the reinstatement of some restrictions being talked about again. Why? Well, we've opened up our bars, nightclubs and entertainment venues again. Now, I'm all for this if it's done properly, but for me it's a disaster. If you have all these rules and recommendations and no official body to oversee and enforce them, who's going to check and enforce these rules? Well, a couple of things on that, if you don't mind me saying so. Maybe somewhat ironically, the actual amount of COVID in Donegal is still high here, but it's not as high as it was. The hospital is under some pressure, of course. 16 cases being treated overnight, 4 in ICU. It's been higher, so it's not as high as it was. And it seems... there are people going in and inspecting these venues, and there seems to be quite a high level of compliance, and there is very, very little appetite either from NPHET, who are ultra cautious, or the government to reimpose any further restrictions, though obviously no one can rule anything out. So I would suggest that you don't despair. You know, us here in Donegal aren't really in that different a space as we were this time last month or 2 months ago. And in fact, things in terms of the amount of COVID around are much better, certainly in certain parts of the county. So you really shouldn't despair with this coming back onto the news cycle again. It's certainly never my intention to worry or scare people, and you shouldn't. Listening to the programme, we'll give you all the information and you can make up your own mind there. But as I say, it's not to cause angst or despair. The majority of people who have taken the vaccine are well protected and aren't going into hospital. Right, okay, we'll be back with more on the programme after we take this break.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels Letterkenny. For a keen price on your home heating oil, call National Fuels on 9137 400.
Clear Mobile has 99% 4G population coverage. So where are people going?
Out west with 4 bars and all. Dublin, outside of Dublin.
Longford, Waterford, all the Fords.
There you go. Great coverage with unlimited calls, texts and data for $14.99 a month. You clear? They are. Clear Mobile. Everything you need, nothing you don't. 30-day contract. Activation fee and fair use applies. Max data speed 5 megabits per second. See clearmobile.ie for terms.
Attention all tractor and forklift owners. Donegal Tyres in Donegal Town is a leading supplier of agricultural and solid forklift tyres in the northwest with a huge range available at competitive prices. Donegal Tyres can help you choose the correct tyre for your application and we will come to you, so no downtime. Check out DonegalTyres.com or call 07497 21482. That's Donegal Tyres, Donegal Town, where you'll get a great deal.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are coming back to Donegal. See this award-winning show live at Jackson's Hotel Ballyboffey on Thursday the 6th of January. Tickets, price €35, are now on sale at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. The Three Amigos live in concert. It's not to be missed.
Callahan's Electrical, Letterkenny and Burt, celebrating 50 years in business. As a thank you to our customers for all the support and business throughout these years, we're holding the giveaway of all giveaways. Think Rangemaster, think LG, think Maxlight, to name but a few. Stay tuned to our Instagram and Facebook pages for more details. Callahan's Electrical, Letterkenny and Burt, your #1 electrical appliance specialist for 50 years.
And you're welcome back. Now, as we mentioned in the Farmers Journal, the Irish Farmers Journal a little earlier on, Ireland's 2030 carbon emission targets could lead to 56,000 job losses and 4 billion of a loss in economic output. Anne Finnegan is policy analyst with the Irish Farmers Journal and joins us now. Good morning, Anne. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Nice to be with you.
Right. Now, tell us how you come to these findings. It was following the commission of an impact assessment. Is that right?
That's right, Greg. Yes. So when the Climate Act was enacted back in July, the Irish Farmers Journal commissioned KPMG to do two things. First of all, to look at the different pathways to emissions reductions at farm level, and secondly, to look at the economic impact of those pathways. And so the findings of the KPMG study look at different levels of emission reductions. I suppose at the outside, we looked at a 50% reduction, which is aligned to the overall national target. We looked at a midpoint of 30%. And we also looked at, what existing technology can give us. So that gives us two scenarios of a 13% reduction and an 18% reduction. And as we heard last week, news is filtered into the public domain that the government are considering between a 21 and a 30% reduction. So we've also gone back and looked at a 21% scenario. So what are we looking at? I suppose from a farmer's perspective, the first two scenarios in the KPMG analysis are, what I would describe as win-win scenarios. The first scenario looks at the existing technologies that exist on farms, that are known and that can be adopted on farms to reduce emissions. So this is the likes of breeding and the likes of your using protected urea. And the second scenario builds on that, but it also looks at the technologies that are coming to market and that realistically will come to market. There's a lot of technologies in the pipeline. Some of them are quite far out, so we haven't brought those in. And in both of these scenarios, they're generally a win-win. We get emissions reductions, and they are actually, in most cases, positive from an economic point of view, from a farm income point of view for farmers. So it's a no-brain scenario. But in the KPMG analysis, going beyond 18% brings us into the realm. So without any new technologies coming on stream, it brings us into the realm of livestock reductions. And as you move up from 21% to 30% and obviously out to 50%, the extent of the livestock reductions increase, as does the impact on farm incomes, the broader economic impact, and the impact on jobs in the agriculture sector.
So, in a nutshell, to retain what is there at the moment, 18% is as much as farmers can give.
With the existing technology and the pipeline technology. So outside of cutting livestock numbers, that's what's achievable from technology.
So do you think that, and obviously not speaking on behalf of the government, but the government not have commissioned a similar economic impact assessment themselves and said, look, if we go for the 30, the net effect is the fact that it's going to, obviously see huge reductions in terms of, employment and output from the farming community.
Say that again, Greg. They said that it won't.
No, I'm saying, do you not think it would have been logical then, would it not, for the government to say, well, how much can farmers give us to sustain farming, as is? And cap it at 18%. Do you think they know that going beyond 18% up towards 30% is going to have the impacts as outlined in this assessment?
Okay, so this week the Climate Change Advisory Council have published their carbon budgets. So these are the overall budgets, and they've sent those on to the government this week, and that's what the sector emission ceilings are based on. And in the Climate Change Advisory Council's work, they've published a technical report which includes farm level analysis, and it does show, broadly speaking, something similar to what we've shown ourselves. So I think, it is known and it is understood. I suppose the purpose of this study, commissioned by the Farmers Journal by KPMG, was really to put hard facts into the debate around what this means. And it's important for farmers, it's important for policymakers and all stakeholders to understand, first of all, what technology can deliver, so that we're not talking in a speculative way, and that we're talking about things that we can actually grind the figures, and that we also look at, well, what's the trade-off economically here about what we're talking about, and we inform the debate with that.
Yeah, you see, what I was kind of getting at is that, and I put this question to Charlie McConalogue last week, and I presume it's a conversation happening amongst farmers. Is part of the government plan to reduce the amount of people working in farming, to reduce the farm output? Is that factored into setting a ceiling of 30%, really, or a reduction of 30%? And I presume that's the conversation that's happening within the farming community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, first of all, it's important to say government haven't set their emission ceilings yet. So, we understand that they're working for agriculture in a broad range of 21 to 30%. But again, they haven't come out and said that. So until they do, we don't know where they're at. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure government understand that there is a level that they go to that does start to impact on employment, on income on farm level. And I guess from a government perspective, that's probably one of the trade-offs that they're looking at, and obviously I imagine also looking at how they can minimize that to the greatest extent possible. I think from farmers' perspective, I think it's hugely concerning for farmers. I mean, one thing, that I think is important is that the Climate Act talks about climate justice. And I suppose climate justice is really about, the thinking that people who are impacted by climate change in terms of, their income, any walk of society that is impacted negatively by climate change must be compensated. So I think, the government are compelled under the Climate Act, if we do go into a scenario where we're cutting livestock numbers, they are compelled to compensate for that and compensate for losses in income under their own legislation. And I think that's very much core to the Paris Agreement, as is, I suppose, maintaining security of food supply for a growing population in the world. So look, these aren't easy.
And of course, as you know, farming's not just necessarily about the money and the income. It's of it's of the country. It's people's tradition. There's a lot more into it rather than sort of being paid off not to do it anymore. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but there's much more to it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it is. We are looking at, when you read the Climate Change Advisory Council's report, they're talking about seismic change in lots of areas of Irish society, from energy, from transport, how we heat our homes, how we move about the country, and obviously in terms of farming, there's a huge impact there as well. And you're right, it is about the fabric of rural society. It is about how we farm, how we live. It's and you start to question things like if we see significant reductions in farmers' income, that does lead to consolidation in the sector. So in a community where you may have had 5 farms being farmed in the past, you potentially have 3 farmers farming the land, potentially of other landowners, or 2 farmers, and that has a huge knock-on effect in terms of the fabric of rural areas. So there are real, beyond the economic aspects, there are real social aspects to what we're facing. But I think government would probably say, and it's fair to say, that's what we're looking at across all walks of society. But certainly we need to consider very carefully the impact at farm level and of our rural communities.
Yeah, and it seems to affect us disproportionately in Ireland as it relates to the fishing industry, where we're seeing some of that consolidation that you're talking of and people exiting the industry. And it just seems like farming is next. And if I were a farmer too, and I'm looking at the statistics as it relates to, the difference people being in lockdown made to our emissions, marginal. Even things like the airline industry, which sometimes the impact it has in the environment is over amplified. But, them kicking their cans far down the road, I'd feel like, if I was a farmer going like, why are you coming at us? What's everyone else doing?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's very easy to take, it's very easy to talk about farming in a simplistic manner. And I suppose that's why the Irish Farmers Journal felt it was very important to put hard facts into the debate here. When we talk about terms like stabilising the national herd, that's a very simple thing to say, but technically, when you start to think about what that means, it's hugely technically difficult. And what does that mean? So it's easy to throw out comments like that. And even talking about, reducing livestock numbers, you're reaching into somebody's pocket and you're taking the income out of their pocket. And that's the difference between, that makes the difference to how people live their lives. It's bread and butter on somebody's table. It's putting kids through college. And I suppose...
And at the same time, you're watching potentially on a boat from Brazil, Brazilian beef farmed on land that once was the home of forestry being shipped up into Europe. You know what I mean? It's that's insult to injury.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole debate around what we call or what we term carbon leakage, and that's the idea that if we curtail our production in Ireland, in the scenario of a growing population, changing diets, increased demand for dairy and beef proteins, that production will just move somewhere else in the world, as you say, to Brazil, where actually their emissions from, say, beef and dairy production, but they're predominantly a beef producer, is much higher. So you don't have, we have one atmosphere, so you don't have a net positive impact on the overall atmosphere, and you may in fact have a negative impact on emissions, and that's a huge challenge, and it's something it's something that's called out very often. And I suppose it's a challenge in the context of the debate we're having now, which is largely focused around, we do know what the parameters are for Ireland between now and 2030. It's in a 51% reduction, so ultimately we are going to have to get there.
All right, and the full report and so much more, as always, every week, available in the current issue of the Irish Farmers Journal.
Super, Greg.
Thank you very much indeed. And it's a hugely successful publication that, particularly when circulation in some areas is dropping. It's strong as ever. Right, some of your comments coming in. We'll get to them in a moment, but first, a quick break.
Get ready for winter with National Fuels, delivering home heating oil in Letterkenny and surrounding areas at competitive prices. National Fuels, 9137 400, proud sponsors of today's show.
Come on down to McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles and visit their designer showroom. They have over 40 bathroom settings on display to help you choose your dream bathroom. So please call or email their staff anytime. McDade's are open Monday to Friday 8:30 till 5:30 and Saturday 9:30 till 3 and can be contacted by phone on 074 9363050 or email sales@pjmcdade.com. Thank you for your continued support from all the team at McDade's Bathroom Plumbing Tiles, Buncrana.
UV Lights Ireland are a Donegal-based company supplying and installing world-class medical-grade UV lights. UV light has long been a staple in medical environments and has been adapted as a safe and effective tool for schools, beauty salons, hotels, restaurants, offices, homes and many other everyday settings. UV Lights Ireland can assess your needs and provide full product training. To find out how you can protect your family, clients, patients, students and staff with air and surface disinfection, visit uvlights.ie.
Derry Halloween is transforming.
Watch your step in this city of bones.
Join the celebration if you dare.
Visit derryhalloween.com.
Looking for an easier way to get your prescriptions filled? Look no further. With our new Brennan's Pharmacy app, you have a simpler, faster way to manage your prescription orders. Just download the free Brennan's Pharmacy app from Google Play or App Store, fill in a few simple details about yourself and your medicines, and you're all set. From prescription ordering, daily medicine reminders, to messaging our pharmacy team directly, it's all at your fingertips with our new Brennan's app. Like to know more? Why not call your local Brennan's Pharmacy today for more information? We're here for you.
Forward Emphasis International, based in Mallinhead, are actively recruiting for customer service advisors and sales advisors with remote working opportunities. Experience in contact centres or insurance services is desirable but not essential. Please visit their website forwardemphasis.ie and apply via their careers page.
Highland Radio Weather Updates, brought to you by Grant. From condensing oil boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating. Trust Grant to heat your home. Think heating, think Grant. Visit grant.eu.
Outbreaks of rain will clear later this morning and will be followed by sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of the showers will be heavy. Temperatures this afternoon reaching 12 to 14 degrees. And there'll be a light moderate south to southwest breeze. Tonight it'll be largely dry with clear spells. However, rain will move into the region later in the night. Lowest temperatures will range 5 to 7 degrees with light southerly or variable winds. Right, some of your comments here. So they want children to stop enjoying themselves, while in many parts of Donegal, halls have reopened for indoor events. And there are 20 or more people aged from 19 to 90 in these halls, which is great, except for the fact that they don't wear face masks. They are optional in some halls, but should be, this caller says, compulsory. Greg, I was delighted to hear Michael Doherty from Micah Action Group come out and say that contractors would be held to account of the extraordinary price being quoted to repair or rebuild houses. We will all, in my opinion, get our houses repaired at some stage. But what about the people, mostly our young, who are struggling to build a house with prices as high as €450,000 being quoted for ordinary 3-bedroom houses? This is scandalous, and it's not all materials. Contractors have, in some cases, doubled their prices. Hope the Micah Group continue to highlight this. But separate to the Micah issue, you know, there are a lot of people getting loans for houses. There's a lot of building and development work included in the National Development Plan, and there is a finite amount of people to do all of that work, isn't there? So what happens in that case? If demand exceeds supply, well then, you know, the price goes up. And there's some people, you know, making a fortune at the moment in the building trade, and it's a very highly skilled trade. But in terms of, say, for instance, something like block laying, it's almost name your price in some parts of the country. upwards of €4 some people are getting per block. Someone in the industry was telling me not so long ago. A caller says, as someone who used to work in a restaurant, I'm delighted to see it being regulated. Our tips were often used to pay for breakages and were only divided out once a year. So if you left before that year was up, you got nothing. And was everything divided up as well? I wonder. Why has Israel just finished giving their people a fourth booster if it's so good? Is this the way it's going to be now, booster after booster? I'm not sure they're on their fourth yet. But if people have immune systems, and it's those with weakened immune systems that are most vulnerable, apparently the boosters are required to maintain that response to keep them out of hospitals. If you're not interested in vaccines or statistics or case numbers or cycles of PCR, just look at the statistics as it relates to what's happening in our hospitals. They're indisputable, and they're under pressure again. People on trolleys, wow, just like 2018 and every year before that, yeah, and then add other problems in on top of that, and it's going to be a long winter. I was at the outpatients at a fracture clinic on Wednesday about my bad knee. I need an op, and he has booked me in for an op after Christmas. I hope it'll go ahead. Well, fingers crossed it will. How can you talk to a doctor when nobody answers the phone? And that was referenced, saying it's very, very busy. It varies again. From practice to practice. Greg, you come out with a statement there which is wrong. You said if you have the vaccine, you'll not be going to hospital. That's not what I said. I said you're less likely to end up very sick. But I'll continue reading their text. If you have the vaccine, you'll not be going into hospital with COVID. This is 100% wrong. This minute, there are people in hospital with COVID who've had the vaccine, so I think you should take back what you've said. I didn't say that, and I can tell you exactly what the situation is if you wish. Of the 200 people, of the, how many is it? 400 people? Sorry, the 100 people, that's what it is. 100 people in ICU. 48% of them are vaccinated, fully vaccinated. 52% of them are not fully vaccinated. So that's the statistics. I'm not hiding behind anything. I never made such a claim. I can tell you exactly the statistics that 52% of those occupying ICU are coming from 7% of the population. Those are the stats. So I'm certainly not trying to massage any of that. Right, we'll be back. And as well as that too, I'm not here to sort of try and put across saying that people are in hospital, you won't go to hospital if you have the vaccine. That's not what I said. I try and give you the official information coming from the powers that be, and that's what it is. Right, we'll be back with more after the news at 10 and the obituary notices. Stay where you are.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. For all your solid fuel needs at the keenest prices. 9137 400 or nationalfuels.ie.
50,000 job losses and a €4 billion hit to the rural economy. Find out what carbon limits on farming will mean for rural Ireland. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish an exclusive KPMG economic impact assessment on the government's plan to reduce agricultural emissions. Find out what carbon reduction targets really mean for farm incomes. Will Ireland reach climate targets without cutting cattle numbers? And find out what the new CAP plan means for farm schemes and payments. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
You'll find all the best toys at Foy's Ballybuffet. There's great value on all the latest toys, including ride-ons, bikes and bear go-karts, with new deliveries arriving every week. Shop online 24/7 at toysatfoys.com. Foy's can ship to your door with free delivery on all orders over €50. Shop local and find all your toys at Foy's Ballybuffet or online at toysatfoys.com.
Airex infrared silent odourless heaters are the perfect solution for heating garages, workshops, recreation facilities, leisure and fitness hubs, caravans and large greenhouses. This super efficient heater only needs 2.5 litres of green diesel or kerosene per day, costing you as little as €1.50 per day to heat your whole building. Heat up your premises this winter without paying a fortune by investing in an Airex commercial heater today. For more information, call 085 2260 239.
Make one big call today that excites you. One call that saves you. One call that changes everything. Make one big call now and switch to SuperValue Insurance. You'll get a great price on the car cover you want. Plus, you'll get €30 in rewards. So make one big call to 1890 111111. And our customer care team will quickly take care of the rest. That's one big call to SuperValue Insurance. €30 in rewards includes two €10 or €40 spend vouchers and €10 worth of real rewards points. This car insurance is underwritten by AXA Insurance DAC. SuperValue Financial Services DAC, trading as SuperValue Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The Letterkenny Halloween Fest returns to Main Street this Friday the 29th with spooktacular fun for all the family. Dress up for the fancy dress competition. Get on the trick-or-treat trail between 1 and 3. There's the CDP's House of Frightmares, storytelling, the Scary Trail of Tales, a Halloween Fest parade from McGettigan's Hotel, and so much more from 12:30 to 4 this Friday on Main Street for the Letterkenny Halloween Fest. You dare not miss it. For more info, see Shop LK on Facebook.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Gardaí have confirmed they're no longer treating the death of a man in Ballyshannon as suspicious. The body of the man in his 60s was found in a house in Ballyshannon on Tuesday afternoon. In a statement this morning, Gardaí told Highland Radio News that following a post-mortem examination, investigating Gardaí have ruled out foul play in the case and a file is now being sent to the coroner. Parents are being advised to reduce their children's activities over the remainder of the Halloween midterm. The Deputy Chief Medical Officer says precautions should be taken due to a recent rise in COVID-19 cases, particularly among children aged 5 to 7. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says Ireland may need local lockdowns if COVID cases continue to increase rapidly. There were 470 COVID patients in public hospitals last night, up from 291 a month ago, while numbers in ICU rose above 100 for the first time since March. In Letterkenny, there were 16 COVID patients at the hospital, 4 of them in ICU. Dr. David Nabarro, the World Health Organization's special COVID envoy, doesn't favour national lockdowns, but he says local restrictions could be necessary.
Well, local basis, I think, is the approach that I would like to see used. You see, if there is a big spike in cases and a very heavy burden on the health services in a particular location, that's when some kind of localised movement restriction can be considered. And I don't see that as actually something to be worried about. I see that as the correct response to a surge in COVID cases.
Well, in Donegal, there were, as of Monday night, a local incidence rate of 644 cases per 100,000 people. That compares to a national rate of 585. And Donegal, which spent a long time as the county with the highest incidence rate in the country, now has the 10th highest incidence rate in Ireland. Almost 20% of medical card holders were prescribed antidepressants last year, with over 10,000 prescriptions in Donegal alone. Nationally, over 317,000 prescriptions were written, with just under 1.6 million medical card holders in the state. GPs say the high levels of prescription are partly due to a lack of counselling services. Well, on the 9 till noon show with Greg this morning, Donegal GP Dennis McCauley, the chair of the IMO GP committee, said there are a number of reasons for such drugs to be prescribed.
Antidepressants are used primarily for depression and anxiety, but they're also used for other things. They're used for pain relief in certain neural pains. They're used for bladder control. They're used for migraine. They're used for a whole range of things. So when you're on an antidepressant, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've been treated for anxiety or depression. There is a lot of psychological disease presently in the county. People talk about long COVID, but I think the psychological effect of the COVID emergency has been very striking.
Around 56,000 jobs could be lost across rural Ireland because of the government's new greenhouse emission targets. That's according to an analysis by KPMG for the Farmers Journal. It says if emissions were cut by 30% over 10 years, it could result in a €4 billion loss in economic output. IFA Deputy President Brian Rush says rather than blunt restrictions, farmers need help to effectively tackle climate change.
Farmers are very focused on the challenge, on the climate change challenge, and they're, like, I've never in the last couple of years, like every meeting I go to, every farmer I talk to wants more information. They're hungry for new technology. How do we adjust our businesses? How do we play our part? But, you know, farmers can do only so much before it starts to impact on their ability to stay in business. And that's the fear.
And footpaths in the Twin Towns are said to be in a serious state of disrepair. There are claims that a number of pedestrians have fallen, while disabled people are said to be finding it increasingly difficult to get around. Local councillor Patrick McGowan is calling on Donegal County Council to carry out an urgent survey of the footpaths in Ballybofey and Stranraer. He says there are countless trip hazards in the area, and with a busy festive shopping season looming, he fears there could be serious injuries if action isn't taken.
We need them to start putting some money into repairing the spots that are there. There's one particular place in front of the shopping centre car park that has been in very, very bad condition for quite a few years. And, you know, it's not that the council don't know about it. They do know about it. They do know about all of the reports of people falling, hurting and having injuries. So it's time to get on with it and just can't drag from one meeting to another. And I know the other councillors supported me on that as well.
Weather forecast, it'll stay largely dry this morning with some hazy sunny spells developing. However, this afternoon we'll see a mix of sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of those showers will be heavy. Temperatures hitting 12 to 14 degrees Celsius today. A light to moderate south to southwest breeze also about, particularly in the afternoon. And that's Island Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, have a very good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 28th of October. The death has taken place of Tony O'Dowd, 14, Nancy's Lane, Strabane, and formerly of Dalkey, Dublin. Funeral from his home on Saturday morning at 9:30 for Requiem Mass in Sacred Heart Church, Derry Road at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers, please, to St Vincent de Paul, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The house and funeral are private to family and friends only, please. Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam at churchservices.tv/Legpatrick. The death has taken place of Michael Doherty, The Grove, Kilmacrennan. Michael's remains will repose at his late residence from 3 o'clock this afternoon. Funeral from there on Saturday morning for Mass at 11 in St Columba's Church, Kilmacrennan, followed by cremation in Lakeland Crematorium, County Cavan. Funeral Mass can be viewed on the Kilmacrennan Parish Facebook page. The wake and funeral will be private to family, neighbours and close friends only, please. Family flowers only, donations in lieu if desired, to the Matter Foundation, care of any family member. The death has occurred of Mary Friel, née Campbell, Bohillian, Burt. Requiem Mass this morning at 11 in St Angus's Church, Burt, followed by interment in Burt Cemetery. Mary's Requiem Mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv/Burt. Family flowers only, please, donations in lieu if desired, to Buncrana Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. And the death has occurred of Sean McDade, 8 McNeely Villas, Old Town, Letterkenny. Funeral Mass this morning at 11 o'clock in St Eunan's Cathedral, Letterkenny, with interment afterwards in the family plot in New Leck Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv/Letterkenny.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
At Irish Life Health, our benefit plan helps you embrace a healthier lifestyle. Get up to €250 back on a mix of benefits like fitness wearables, dietitians and sports clubs like your local GAA club. It's health insurance, but not as you know it. Search Irish Life Health. Irish Life Health Act is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Terms and conditions apply. Call us to see exactly what's covered.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Going to some of your comments now, which have been coming in ahead of the bingo numbers. Hi, just asking, is it true you can't give blood again if you're vaccinated? No, that's completely untrue. In fact, the blood supplies are under pressure, and the blood service are asking, the blood transfusion service are asking people to book appointments to give blood. A massive amount of the blood that's donated ends up helping people being treated for cancer, for blood transfusions and what have you. And they are not short. I'm not saying there's pressure on their supplies. So everyone is being invited who's inclined to give blood is invited to go along or book an appointment whenever they can. I missed your show yesterday, so apologies if you've covered this already, Greg, says a caller. I think there's no harm reminding people of why protests are taking place in solidarity with Julian Assange. Just over 10 years ago, WikiLeaks published the Iraq War Files, 400,000 documents revealing the true nature of US war crimes. These logs revealed, among other things, over 300 incidents of torture and abuse, an order allowing US and UK military to avoid responsibility for torture. 130,000 deaths had been kept secret by the US Army. Let Highland be this his media outlet too. Big corporations control seed and have farmers in their hand. Brexit forbids the sharing of seed between our newly defined border. We as growers will share our organic seed anyway, and to hell with government control. We share the same climate here and with Scotland. Another 5 years ago, the government told farmers to double their cattle herds. They couldn't run a raffle, says another. Hi, Greg. I have a brother working over in London, was chatting with him at the weekend, and the Irish is all the chat over there. They can't believe all the silly rules the Irish government brought in. Irish people just take it. If you're seen with a mask on in England, you are laughed at. I said to the brother, the Irish are like sheep. It's time the Irish wake up to this B word of a government. Well, you see, the thing is I think things are going to change over for your brother in London very shortly. Because they are going to be reimposing mask mandates, according to some reports. Am I the only one concerned about the green carbon taxes? I've gone back to education. My wife works part-time. We've no medical card and pay for almost everything. 2 children in school. Petrol, oil, food and electricity is all going up. Thankfully, all food not going up at a very high rate, but I take your point. Where is the money going to come from? I know it keeps me and my wife awake at night. I feel I'm going to have to drop out of further education and get a full-time job again. Well, the government believe that inflation will level off in 3 or 4 months, which should see the likes of petrol and oil reduce in cost again, which should have a knock-on effect of electricity. But we all know all too well, don't we, that these commodities go up quite quickly, but they don't come down quite as quickly. But that's what they're saying. That's what they're factoring in their budget. Greg, I'm sorry, but the lockdown's created more harm than anything. We're now being told to get a booster after booster of the vaccine, and add into that we now need the general flu vaccine. But are they really working? In my own family, there are members who are not vaccinated, and it's really causing more arguments than enough. This pandemic was supposed to bring us together, not divide us. Well, listen, it's a very divisive issue, particularly medicine, vaccines. There are very different views out there. It's split families, it's split friendships. A lot of people have added friends with similar opinions on social media and deleted others. Statistically, I look at the statistics. Statistically, to me, it's clear that they are benefiting people. They are saving lives. But everyone has to make their own decisions. Morning, Greg. A few months ago, when Donegal had the highest rate of COVID cases in the country, a lot of people, including some of the medical professionals, were blaming being too near the border. Now, some counties down the country have the highest rates. We can't blame the border for high cases, though our case rate is very much is really quite aligned to Northern Ireland's, particularly the west of the North, Derry, Tyrone. Our cases are far more, and our pattern is far more like those areas than it would be any other areas down the country. So there certainly is always going to be. I mean, the border is notional. Do you know what I mean in terms of medicine? Right now, we launched this on the programme last Friday, and delighted to be able to give it a readout for you. It's back, and it's bigger. Even bigger than 2020. Highland Radio have teamed up with our friends at iMotors at Drumkeen and Malin. 2 great places, by the way. I've been out in both. We're working with them to offer you the opportunity to win a brand new Kia Exceed, and it's a beautiful car. It's built with all the extras you'd expect from Kia and worth over 28 grand. It's a petrol model. It's in white, and it can be all yours for just a tenner, or less, in fact. To enter, simply log on to highlandradio.com and click on the Win a Car icon. This will allow you to purchase your ticket for the draw and answer one simple question. Tickets are €10 each, or you can purchase 6 for €50. See, they're less than €10 when you buy more, or 10 for €80. So you get 2 tickets for free. You get 1 ticket for free for 50. You get 2 free for 80, okay, in case you want to gift them, The draw will take place on this programme on Thursday, the 23rd of December 2021. Good luck to all. And it'd be a great prize coming up to Christmas, wouldn't it? And stay tuned, because at the moment it's just about a car. But as you heard Fionnuala sort of hinting at, like last year, there'll be extra little bonuses in there, I'd imagine, though nothing confirmed at this point, but you know yourself. All right, so good luck. Go on to our website, highlandradio.com, and you can click in there to enter that, and you could be in line to win that Exceed, a beautiful car in white, petrol. Right, good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Here are the numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, October 28th, Jackpot Day. Today's jackpot is €5,000. Today's jackpot number is 27. You're playing on a pink coloured sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 43. The numbers are 12, 68, 87, 86, 84, 66, 26, 57, 38, and 45. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Get ready for winter with National Fuels, delivering home heating oil in Letterkenny and surrounding areas at competitive prices. National Fuels, 9137 400, proud sponsors of today's show.
There's amazing deals every week at Watson Hire in Letterkenny. Great specials in tools, hardware and homeware. If you're a tradesperson or you're doing a one-off job, you'll find everything from power tools to hand tools and paint to work clothing. There's also loads of great present ideas with the Christmas Club now open. For great weekly deals and a great selection, visit Watson Hire at Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more information, visit the Facebook page or see watsonhire.ie.
Special Halloween offers at Doherty Centra Moville. Inspired by Centra Irish Angus sirloin steaks with peppercorn butter, €6. Centra Fresh Irish Whole Chicken, 1.6 kg, €4.50. 12-pack cans of Guinness, Heineken, Carlsberg, Budweiser and Bulmers, €15. Cadbury snack size bags, €2. 4-pack bars, €1.50. Everything you need for Halloween at Doherty Centra Moville. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Country Dancing Nights are back at Logues of Cranford with Robert Mazel this Saturday night. Sunday night, it's the Lakelanders. That's Country Dancing, back this weekend at Logues of Cranford.
Business owners, are you wondering what to do for your staff for Christmas? Well, at Kelly Centra in Letterkenny, there's great hampers to suit all budgets, with delivery available. Luxury hampers are a speciality. There's also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Get Christmas sorted for your staff now by calling Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny on 91222026.
If you're pregnant, a COVID-19 vaccine will help to protect you and your baby. Most people who get COVID-19 while pregnant have mild to moderate symptoms, but you are more at risk of being very unwell or needing hospital treatment. It is safe to get your vaccine at any stage of pregnancy. Before you get your COVID-19 vaccine, make sure you talk to your doctor or midwife. And you'll find more information on hse.ie. From the HSE.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
The time's 18 minutes past 10. So as we mentioned on the programme, I think 292 ICU beds open at the moment, and obviously, you know, we have just over 100 people in ICU with COVID, because of COVID, and that represents something like 10 per million of the population, but that is enough to put us on the brink, really. And you only have to go back to 2017 when the Irish Hospital Consultants Association said they needed 290 extra intensive care unit beds. And that was before we even knew about COVID. And you can go back long before that and you'll hear and read of Bertie Hearn and Enda Kenny toing and froing about hospital beds and ICU beds going back, 15 odd years. Deputy Mark McSharry joins us on the programme now. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Greg.
Right, so you're asking the question. You know, at some point you had an insight. What has the government done to increase additional acute and ICU beds since March 2020? I presume it's a rhetorical question.
Well, that's the question. How many? How many have we sought to introduce, either on the acute side or on the ICU side? And there has been a 25% increase in ICU, and you've addressed that in your figures there that you've read out. But that still puts us third worst in the entire OECD. So we have between 5 and 6 beds per 100,000, whereas Germany, for example, have 33 per 100,000. UK 11. Similar country, Denmark, almost 8. And on the basis that, and from the beginning I've been trying to promote the fact that we need to develop a way to live with COVID, that's going to require additional capacity. And I think, unfortunately, we've just had a kind of a one-dimensional approach of lockdown and vaccination. And obviously we'd encourage people, and I'm vaccinated, but we see the way the numbers are, particularly in somewhere like Waterford, that has such a high vaccination rate, but yet figures are so high in terms of figures, as one of your texters had alluded to there before the break. So at some stage, we're going to have a very unpleasant adult conversation about what level of mortality is acceptable with COVID, because it's going to be with us for many, many years.
Is that an acceptable conversation? I mean, we don't talk about an acceptable level of mortality on our roads. We do absolutely everything we can to get that number down to 0. Why would we have an acceptable level of mortality with COVID?
Well, I think from that you're going to determine what level of capacity you need in ICU and in acute beds. I mean, as you rightly said, long before COVID, we had Dr. Fergal Hickey, the spokesperson for the Association of Emergency Medicine, looking for up to 3,000 additional acute beds. You alluded to again the fact that we needed, again, pre-COVID, a doubling or more of the number of ICU beds. And we do have conversations, in fact, about the level of mortality on the roads. And of course we do all we can to reduce them. But we can't blindly say, look, we're going to aim for 0 people going into hospital with COVID or 0 people going into ICU, because that's just not possible.
Yes, but surely, rather than saying... go ahead, Deputy. Yep.
The important point here, Greg, is whatever we do with roads isn't affecting other things, okay? Whereas COVID, unfortunately, the way we're doing it, which is in a reactionary way, is we're impeding upon the ability to treat cancer, to treat other elective surgeries and so on, and other illnesses, and that's not acceptable.
Okay, so this is, I don't understand where you're coming from about an acceptable level of mortality then.
I'm quoting from Professor Sam McConkey, who said this months ago.
Yeah, that's fine, but I mean, he doesn't have exclusivity on this issue either. What I'm trying to get at, how do you achieve that? You know, I mean, if you were coming on saying let's triple our ICU beds to give everybody who gets COVID the best chance of survival, I would go, yeah, of course that makes sense. But to be starting from the start point of an acceptable level of mortality, what are you doing with these people? Because I think
you're misunderstanding.
Okay, well, let's tease it out, Mark. These people are going to get sick.
It's about determining the optimum level of ICU and acute beds required.
Yes.
It's not about that we knowingly decide that X number of people are going to die. And sadly, as a state, while it mightn't make it into the news, these are conversations that the likes of the Irish Centre for Pharmacoeconomics have on a daily basis, where they're determining, for example, if it's a breakthrough drug on breast cancer, as we had some years ago, like ipilimumab, that's considered by the Irish Centre for Pharmacoeconomics. And they decide very crudely on whether that's going to be made available here in Ireland based on the cost per year per life saved, which they put at around 50,000. And of course, these are terribly unpleasant things to consider. I don't like the idea of it at all myself. But in the real world, these are things that have to be considered.
Yes,
so
but what I wanted to get to...
What have cancer and everything else, not and having to wait for treatments, because our only approach to dealing with COVID is the one that we're implementing without increasing to adequate capacity.
Yeah, and I think everyone would agree with you, and it's a conversation we don't have because it's almost unpalatable that a cost is put on lives, and I get that 100%, and I think everyone would agree. But what I'm trying to get at here is that, right, in the absence of us increasing ICU capacity, people are going to get sick. We know that, right? But if we don't put other measures in place, seemingly this will run roughshod through sections of our society. Do we put them in hospital or treat them elsewhere? Do you know what I mean? Because if we sort of say there's an acceptable level of mortality, that doesn't mean people will not get sick and people will not get very sick. They will have to go into an ICU, or you saying they won't go into ICU?
No, I never said that.
No, I'm asking you. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you.
Oh, no, absolutely not. I mean, I want the optimum number of ICU beds as are going to be required. So where we're at the moment is about 500 in hospital per day and around about 100 in ICU. If this is the trend that we're going to be at, then how much more do we need to ensure that there's going to be no delay on elective surgeries, no delay on the normal day-to-day needs of our hospitals and our acute care throughout the country? I wouldn't rule out, and you kind of alluded to it there, perhaps there needs to be COVID-specific hospitals. They say, well, look, we're going to have X, Y, and Z hospitals that's very specifically for COVID and others. I don't know whether that's practical or not. Nobody is saying, for example, we don't need to redouble our efforts in terms of the basics, hand washing, social distancing, masks, and so on, and to do that in an appropriate way. So all of those things will be necessary too. But I just don't think we're anywhere near the optimum capacity. There are legacy issues, and that has been increased now in terms of its urgency by the fact that COVID is here and it's here to stay.
Yeah, but even Stephen Donnelly has committed to funding, I think it's to 340 ICU beds, which clearly is not enough. What I don't understand, though, and maybe you can give some insight into this, is that I think going back to 2018, that group of doctors that I referenced, that article costs the provision of an ICU bed at about $1 million, which is a significant amount of money. But we are spending multiples of that weekly on PCR tests. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing that, but I mean, you've been in parliamentary party meetings. Has that conversation been had? Why are we not diverting at least some of those funds to increase capacity, which would be useful into the long term, and we will save that money arguably in other areas, or we could adjust how we are spending that money in other areas within sort of the COVID spend. Like, why? It seems a non-brainer to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the reality is this: if money was the problem, the health crisis would have been solved many decades ago. I mean, there's a historic amount of money going in, as you've rightly pointed out. There's a huge amount of PCR testing. No, I disagree that we should take money from the very important testing. I think we have been gone the scenic route to embracing things like antigen testing, which can assist in terms of infection rates. And when you look at countries with similar vaccination rates to us, who are enjoying relatively lower numbers compared to us, then clearly that has a role to play in our society. So in terms of, as Mark McSharry, the absolute solution, no, I don't. I'm making some suggestions along the route, which I hope will improve the situation. And I think at the core of that is capacity, and sadly the political class, myself included, as part of them, have listened but ignored the calls of the Association of Emergency Medicine over the course of the last number of years, and indeed other healthcare professionals who've highlighted the level of capacity we need even without COVID.
I mean, it's not that we're not hiring people. I think the HSE workforce has grown by 10,000 since the start of the pandemic. Where are those staff? I mean, that would be an interesting question for a politician to try and find out.
It would indeed. And one challenge that we will have as we begin to build capacity is, I mean, obviously you need a huge amount of specialist nurses to back up new beds. You need intensivists and anaesthetists and doctors and so on. And certainly on the nursing side, since the crash in 2010, we haven't been training sufficient numbers. So now numbers have increased in recent years in terms of training. So you're going to have to do all of that too to build to a capacity that can cater for this.
I mean, you were, as I say, in these parliamentary meetings and listening to your colleagues discussing COVID and antigen testing and our approach. Did you get a sense that the government knew what to do, or was there a desperation or a lack of knowledge or ignorance, or just a determination that they thought they were going down the right road?
Well, look, as you're probably aware, Greg, I changed my political status.
Yeah, that's why I feel I can ask you.
in recent months, so I would take the view that government is far too autopilot and not enough leadership. And we depend almost exclusively on NFIT and the HSE and others, and I think there needs to be real direction. That, sadly, that government ministers of all parties, and none to the last number of administrations, have become very expensive commentators rather than the executive providing the leadership which we yearn for as a nation and need, particularly in crises like this.
What's your status in terms of, I mean, do you take I don't know how it goes, you're suspended, do you go back into Fianna Fáil? Or are you an independent going forward, or what?
I'm not suspended, Greg. I resigned. So there's a big difference between that, and I resigned on the basis that
That's right, of course you did, yeah.
To look the public in the eye and tell them that depending on who you are in this country, different rules apply.
Do you think was that the right timing? Because obviously you had involved yourself in the Micah crises. Obviously, to resign from a party is a big move. You'd said you have done so if they didn't do right by the Micah families. Do you think the timing of that resignation in hindsight was correct?
I think when it comes down to basic integrity and truth, and when you're playing handball against a haystack and trying to make improvements to how the democracy of Fianna Fáil operated, then that's the appropriate time, and that's what I did. But in real terms, on the day-to-day, I'm open for business. My clinics are busy, and I continue to follow up in an independent capacity, but in the best Fianna Fáil traditions. I simply won't operate under the guidance or diktats of Micheál Martin. But
now the Fianna Fáil's in the most recent polls at 12% and dropping. Do you think that party can ever return to big party status again? And if so, what would it take?
Not in the short term. I think that the landscape politically for the whole country has changed, and indeed a lot of Western Europe and the world. So I think the idea of kind of one large block or two large blocks is kind of gone. It's going to be a kind of a three-way political landscape for the foreseeable future. But I think that the demise of Fianna Fáil in the course of the last 10 or 12 years has been stark. When I went in to Leinster House first, Fianna Fáil regularly enjoyed poll ratings of 35 to 40%, in the peak Connacht Ulster of 65%. Now it's nationally at 12, or in Connacht Ulster 9%, and that has come from losing touch with the necessity and value of shared ownership, where it's a grassroots organisation whose policies and actions are informed from the ground up, and it's moved away from that over the course of the last 10 or 12 years. Many of us from the Bill tried to bring it back a little bit to its traditions in that sense. And that wasn't working. And when you have a situation over the course of the last year in particular of double standards, where there's leaking from cabinet by the Deputy Prime Minister, where we have Marion Gate, where we have a former Minister of Retro-Engineering through our friends in cabinet, a career in the United Nations, I wasn't prepared to roll over as Micheál Martin was once again on this. So I called for a meeting of the Fianna Fáil Parliamentary Party to democratically consider whether we would go to conference.
Yeah, your phone line's breaking up a little bit there, but you make
Simon told me, and that meeting wasn't held in order to stay as anybody responded.
Okay, Deputy, unfortunately we're going to have to leave it there because you're making interesting points, but the phone line is breaking down on us. But I think the listeners would have got the main thrust of it, except just maybe in the latter stages. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Deputy Mark McSharry there. 08660 25,000, 08660 25,000. Now some requests. Please say a huge thank you to the staff of the new Dunnes Stores Clothes Department, especially the supervisor Sally Ann for the wonderful customer service received last Friday. Margaret Boners in Lettershambo, Glenfin. Happy birthday to you, Margaret, from your sister Teresa O'Donnell in Ballybofey. Please play a request for Amy Lafferty in Castlefin, graduating today from LYIT Letterkenny. Congratulations from Geraldine and Peter and Granny and Grandad. Nicole Tolan in Ramelton. She's graduating today also from Letterkenny IT in law. Best wishes, lots of love from your nan and papa, and from your mum and sister Clodagh and brothers Ryan and Jordan.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. For all your solid fuel needs at the keenest prices. 9137 400 or nationalfuels.ie.
iMotors are excited to announce the launch of the new fully electric Kia EV6. The modern and breathtaking design is groundbreaking with up to 528 kilometres before recharge. The EV6 has all the latest technology you would expect with a Kia and has ultra fast charge from 10% to 80% in only 18 minutes. We are now taking pre-orders at iMotors Letterkenny and Malin. For more information, call 074 9134567. iMotors, the home of Kia in Donegal.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
50,000 job losses and a €4 billion hit to the rural economy. Find out what carbon limits on farming will mean for rural Ireland. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish an exclusive KPMG economic impact assessment on the government's plan to reduce agricultural emissions. Find out what carbon reduction targets really mean for farm incomes. Will Ireland reach climate targets without cutting cattle numbers? And find out what the new CAP plan means for farm schemes and payments. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
COVID-19 is still spreading in our communities. Vaccines are proven to be your best protection against serious illness from COVID-19. If you haven't had your vaccine yet, you're at higher risk. Talk to your GP or pharmacist, or come to a HSC walk-in vaccination centre for your free vaccine. Find details on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700. From the HSC, for us all.
Meet Seamus. He and his wife are driving in their new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV to her birthday dinner, which he forgot in a restaurant that she had to book. She married a cliché. This could be a very uncomfortable drive. Except the Citroën C5 Aircross SUV comes with advanced comfort seating and progressive hydraulic cushion suspension, making it a very comfortable drive indeed. Citroën, engineered for comfort. See citroen.ie.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. As you will have noticed on your journeys, fuel prices have increased steadily in recent weeks, with some prices now of more than $1.70 per litre for petrol, $1.60 for diesel in some petrol stations across the country. It is the highest prices have been in almost 10 years and is associated with a global shortage of supply. And, we talk about per litre. I think when you fill the car up or half fill it or whatever you're used to putting in, you'll see your needle just doesn't go up as far as it used to. Or, as I say, if you fill it, you'll know it's costing an awful lot of money. Conor Fultman's transport commentator. He joins us on the programme now. Conor, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be here. Hello.
Right, okay. What's driving these price increases, Conor?
Well, the global factors are the ones that everybody is talking about. There is a global supply shortage. It's the aftershock of the pandemic. The entire global economy stopped, and that included supply chains and production lines. And now that it's restarting, there's a big surge in demand for oil. So energy prices very expensive all winter long. Now, that's the external factor. But the point I keep making in all of this is that whole conversation is only about 40% of the price that we're paying, because 60% of the price that we're paying is Irish government tax. So that's the reason why fuel is so expensive. The global stuff is all real. It's pushing up the base price, but our retail price is so punitive because of the extra Irish taxes.
Well, we saw in the British budget published yesterday where they did not increase taxes on petrol and diesel. Now, on the face of it, that's going to work well with the public. But whatever increases they may have applied probably would have been gobbled up very quickly by, or will be gobbled up very quickly by petrol and diesel price increases in any case.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, the oil price and the petrol price is so volatile in its own right that it can sometimes disguise the tax because it'll bob up and down. There'll be occasions where the government puts a whole load of extra tax on petrol and we don't notice because the price has dropped. That's exactly what happened in 2008 after the financial crisis. The oil price dropped to the floor. Fuel prices also dropped to the floor, but at the same time, government put on that occasion an extra 5 cents per litre on both fuels. So they put on a rake of emergency taxes during the crisis. Carbon tax was then added as well. And those taxes are still there when the base price goes up in response to world oil prices. So actually, world oil prices have been higher. This is by no means a record for the global oil price, but it is a record for the Irish retail price. And, you know, there is a broad conversation about what we do to get rid of diesel. Diesel's on the way out. It'll have a long tail on it, but, you know, we will eventually wind up not using fossil fuel cars. But between now and then, to me, it just seems very punitive to hit, you know, hundreds of thousands of ordinary families with fuel price rises and you know, to be complacent about it on the grounds that it's being done for the climate. It doesn't really feel to me like it is.
And to that point where the government's actually saying they believe this is the single biggest influencer in terms of changing people's direction or their attitudes. We were having a conversation earlier on about the expectation from the farming community for us to meet our 2030 goals. Whilst we can look at the amount of duty and VAT and what have you that the government applies to petrol and diesel, they're not going to backtrack or roll back on that now at this stage.
No, it seems unlikely, and they haven't over the years for all sorts of reasons. It's been a go-to for governments over the years to get extra money. A stroke of a pen, you can put a couple of cents on petrol and diesel, and it feels as if it's an easy way to make money, and you can give it an environmental excuse. But I'm not convinced this is what is assisting the switch from diesel to electric. And we've proved that before. You know, the reason why people bought diesels 10 years ago was that government told them it was the cleaner fuel. And also there was a major change to the tax treatment. So it became cheaper to buy diesel cars. Now, the tax support for electric vehicles is helpful, but it just isn't enough. And I think as the years go by, we will see electric vehicle technology improving and we'll see the diesels phase themselves out.
I think people will jump over to electric once they start seeing, and we're seeing some of the cars now with advertised ranges of 450 kilometres. As soon as you get into that space, maybe up to 500 or 600, that you think you can go to the airport and back maybe without having to recharge. And if they are more affordable, people will jump because they're great cars to drive, like.
They're fabulous cars. And you know, that's your acid test. Can you drive an electric car from Ballybuffet to Dublin Airport and back again without actually having to charge it? And when the answer to that question is yes, you know, then rural Donegal will all want electric cars. And that's coming, and that can be helped by incentives. But in the meantime, we have an existing population of diesel engines. It makes environmental sense to use them until they're worn out. And while that's happening, government knows that everybody has to buy diesel. The entire Irish economy has to buy diesel. So when you put up the price of diesel, the practical effect of that is that it just pushes up everybody's prices. So we're in for a lean winter when the contents of your wallet are thinner than they might otherwise be. And as I say, I struggle to see the genuine environmental motivation for this. And you know, in the meantime, we all suffer the high prices.
And it does feel that we are disproportionately affected in rural Ireland, Conor, and I'm not crying here, but we don't have alternatives. You know, for a lot of us, it is 2 hours in the car to get to work. There is not a bus or a rail or a Lewis, or even, you know, for many of us, the possibility of a bike. So it does feel that, you know, rural Ireland, again, maybe is taking the brunt of this.
Well, that's definitely true. I mean, we complain about transport in Dublin City. It's the biggest city on the island. There is public transport. The comparison with rural Ireland is chalk and cheese. And when a tax like an increase in the diesel price, when you measure its effect, you do see that. It tends to hit rural areas harder than urban. It tends to hit poorer households harder than wealthier. And as I say, the collateral damage that it causes when you stack it up against the environmental benefit. Now, do accept that diesel and fossil fuels are on their way out, and the faster we can get rid of them, the better. But that reality doesn't justify the sort of casual banditry of extra taxes on punters as you go along the way.
Yeah, I'm surprised we don't hear more from taxi drivers whose obviously their bottom line's being eaten into, private bus operators who are tendering for bus routes, you know, and it's a scrap to get those, and their profits are being eaten into, hauliers and all those type of areas who really are feeling this on a major scale. Just back to the price of it, right? Is it really about, you know, stocks are low, there's supply issues, or is there more going on between the major the major governments in this world turning off taps? You know, I know there's some issue with the Russians and they want approval for a line into Germany. I'm not sure if that's gas or oil or whatever it might be. But do you know what I mean? Like, is it really about how much oil we're getting out and processing and transporting, or is there games going on, I wonder, at a very high level?
Yeah, well, there always are. There's a sort of geopolitical chess game going on. And, you know, the Russians always try to manipulate the price of oil. Much of their economy is dependent on high commodity prices. So they have a lot of skin in the game. So Russia tries to manipulate the price. So too does countries like Venezuela, even relatively small. And of course, OPEC, who've been doing it for 40, 50 years. So they will, you know, ration supply if they want to manipulate the price. That's normally quite transparent and everybody knows what's going on. Sometimes it goes mental, though. I mean, if you go back to 2008, before the financial crisis, there was a huge rush on speculative money piling in and out of oil price derivatives and oil price futures. And that's essentially a gamble. So at one stage, we had a situation where a barrel of oil was bought and sold on world markets 20 times before it was used. So even while it's on the ship, you know, computer screens are flickering in New York and Frankfurt, and huge amounts of money is being gambled on the future price of oil. And that really distorted markets 10, 12 years ago. Oil got up to nearly $150 per barrel, and much of it was speculation. This time around, there doesn't seem to be that much noise. There is the geopolitical tug of war going on, the Russians being mischievous as always, but there's also genuinely, there has been a slowdown in supply. And that's the physical manufacture of the petrol and diesel, and also its distribution. And we read a lot recently about Britain's problems with truck drivers. Actually, something similar is happening in the United States. They don't have a Brexit issue, but they do have an issue with what they're calling the Great Resignation. Can't get truck drivers in the US. And so the supply chains have been gummed up.
Yeah,
right,
and people will see that, and it's not necessarily oil. Those images of these cargo ships, they simply cannot process them through the ports quick enough because they thought there'd be a downturn in demand for things. There was actually an increase, and they just don't have the capacity for it. Stay where you are if you don't mind, Conor. I have one more question for you. I just want to bring James in on the conversation. James, your point, and it's a very good point. I think it's a decent question that I've not actually heard an answer to yet. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, well, I actually had two, but I'll keep them short. First
no,
one,
go ahead. Take your chat away.
Is there any hybrid vehicles, particularly rather than fully electric, that are capable of towing trailer, horse box, boat, whatever? Now, I'd be chatting about non-commercial entities here, just the private individual that would have occasion to tow. Is there any vehicles out there that would meet that criteria at the moment?
It's a good question, Conor, because, you know, lots of people might have a jet ski or a boat or a trailer or
farm trailer, most typically.
Yeah.
You can tow a light trailer with most of them, a very light two-wheel trailer. But I know what James is talking about. If you wanted to tow something more substantive, diesel engine has always been the engine of choice. You do get greater power from it. They used to say, you know, back in the day that you shouldn't tow with an automatic car. Virtually all the hybrids and electrics are an automatic format from the driver's point of view. You can tow a very light trailer with them. But the answer to your question, James, at the moment really is no. The best advice realistically would probably be to get a big, strong second-hand diesel car and use it for that purpose. And it'd be interesting to see when the future of electric cars, they're getting lighter and smaller. Some of them are very light and small, little city cars. You'd like to think that there will be a niche for the electric car that'll work like a pickup truck.
Yeah, but James, I'm not saying it's you're talking about your own case, but you know, it's tough enough to keep one car on the road. The idea
Yeah.
of buying an expensive electric, but then having a diesel for towing, you just stick with the diesel until such time as it's, that's the practical reality, isn't it?
Can I ask just as a support to drivers the second question? Can I ask?
Yeah, go on. It's an important one, actually, this.
Yeah.
We bring it up now and again here in the programme, and it's well worth airing again. Go ahead.
The motorised transport grant for people with disabilities, and there are very strict criteria on who qualifies for it. It was removed by the government back about 4 years now at this stage, maybe 5, because they deemed that because it's not available to people over a certain age, that it was discriminatory against older people, but it was to be replaced with a new, super improved grant and all. No sign of it anywhere. And because there's a lot of people with disabilities who are not working, the cost of trying to buy an electric vehicle is just not there, the chance of that. Now, if the grant was available, as I say, the motorised transport grant, it would be some help, because you can buy a vehicle without VAT or VRT up to a certain amount, but even with that, it still leaves an electric vehicle out of the reach for many people with disabilities without the motorised transport grant.
Right, good point, James. Thanks for that. If we're really serious about it, we need to be talking about all of these things, don't we, Conor?
Well, yeah, we do. And for example, a diesel to electric scrappage scheme would be a really useful measure if government brought it in. Much more useful. I mean, we've done that in the past. We made diesel engines much more attractive and people bought diesel in drove. We're not really seeing the same push towards electric vehicles. If there was a diesel to electric scrappage scheme, that would be a much more meaningful measure to change the fleet to electric. And as I say, what we're getting instead is recognition, tacit recognition from government that diesel's going to be here for a long time and will have a long tail. And then opportunistically, on top of that, let's put a bit of extra tax on it because that's good for revenue. So that's pretty disappointing in terms of what government did not do in the last budget in terms of genuinely incentivizing the switch. As for the disability grant, James, I actually don't know the detail of that, but the broader point is, of course, if we're serious about a switch to electric vehicles, pick a person with a disability as a good excuse to heavily subsidize it and aid the transition. We're not seeing that type of thing, which is disappointing.
How keen are they, Conor, to get us, though, to switch over? Because I think if, the government would have a serious headache if an awful lot of us switch to electric in the morning. Lack of a charging infrastructure that doesn't work. Where it does work, a lot of them are slow chargers. Huge petrol stations on, major routes in this part of the world with one charge point. And when that's taken, it's taken, and you can say, but it only takes 18 minutes to get to 80%. That's grand, but I have to wait 18 minutes for the 3 people in front of me to get to 80%. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think... I just wonder how committed we are to this, because if we got everyone into electric cars, we can't do it. We simply, we can't charge these vehicles at the moment.
We can't charge these
publicly.
vehicles, so the charging infrastructure is well behind, and also the electricity grid. Because if the purpose of this is to aid the climate, in the long run, there's not much point having a turf-powered Tesla on the roads in Donegal. We have to produce clean electricity and an awful lot more of it. That's one of the major strategic challenges that we do face. But the world is going to do this anyway, so it's not as if Ireland is going to set the pace globally. All of the European car manufacturers are moving away from diesel. Some are gone already. The last generation of diesel cars is probably being built right now. And then we'll have a generation of hybrids, and then we will be moving to electric or some such similar platform. The technology will get better and better. I'm confident of that. Look what happened to mobile phone technology in the period of 15 years. Like, we're sort of comparing today's electric cars to the iPhone equivalent that we're going to get as the technology improves. So we will get there. But I think we have to tolerate the fact that it's going to take us a while. We have a country full of existing diesel engines. The sound environmental thing to do with those existing diesel engines is to use them efficiently for as long as we can spin out of them. Drive the cars into the ground, and then when we replace them with the cleanest version that we can. So that's the sensible procedure. And while that's happening, it is unfortunate that it's taken as an opportunity for extra fuel taxes.
Yeah, all right. Listen, thanks for that. A broad conversation. I appreciate your time, Conor. I really do. Have a good day. Conor Faulkner there, transport commentator.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels Letterkenny. For a keen price on your home heating oil, call National Fuels on 9137 400.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. An end to wet feet and skidding across a cold bathroom floor. But better hurry, because when all our half-price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all living room throws and all pillows are still half price. And when all our half-price living room throws and all our half-price pillows are gone, they're definitely gone. So order online before 2 p.m. today for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The Irish Farmers Journal, in association with Harris Group, Nace Road, Dublin, are giving you the chance to win an Isuzu D-Max Crew Cab worth €45,000. €45,000. There are just 2 weeks left to pick up your entry form inside the Irish Farmers Journal. This €45,000 Isuzu D-Max could be all yours. Terms and conditions apply.
Kavanagh Hooper Dolan Insurances, based at Rossview Business Park, Letterkenny, provides a comprehensive and competitive range of products for home, motor, young drivers, business, farm and marine. Call us now for a free quotation on 074 91777500. Check out our range of products online at chd.ie or drop into our office at Rossview Business Park today for help and advice on your insurance needs from our experienced staff. Kavanagh Hooper Dolan Insurances Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
At Luca's Burger, Pasta and Pizza Restaurant, we pride ourselves on cooking everything fresh. Try our beef burgers sourced from our own farm, delicious pasta and wood-fired oven pizzas. If you have room left, treat yourself to one of our homemade desserts. Luca's, Canal Road, Letterkenny, run by a family for all your family.
Jimmy Norman here from Aveen's Pink Toy, the National Children's Cancer Charity. Every day, children and their families climb their own Everest because of childhood cancer. On Saturday, the 30th of October, the National Retained Firefighters Association of Ireland will climb their own Everest challenge in aid of Aveen's Pink Toy at Nina Fire Station in Tipperary. That is 29,029 feet of kindness in the battle to put out the fire of childhood cancer. Please support our countrywide collection on the day. Help us help them. Fight like a child.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Take home heating efficiency to new levels with Grant's air-to-water heat pump and underfloor heating. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, rain clearing the region, and it's going to be followed by sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of those showers will be heavy. Temperatures this afternoon, 12 to 14 degrees. Feels kind of mild for end of October, doesn't it? There'll be light to moderate south to southwest breezes. Right, now ahead of the news, let's read some more of your comments. 1950 to get into an underage disco last Friday night. Crazy. I don't know who was performing. I mean, if it's a big name DJ, they come at a cost, a couple of grand. I don't know what the story was there. It's a lot if it's just entrance fee. But as I say, if there's a big name in there, it's like going to see Picture This to the young people or Gareth Brooks, you know. I don't know who was playing. Right. Where are we here? On about Irish cattle and environment, there's 281 million cows in India. Sacred animals, say no more, says that caller. I don't know what they mean by say no more, but I get you. Back to the same old story, rip-off Ireland. 80% of all our goods are brought in by road. Farmers use diesel, just wait till food prices rocket. Petrol, 174 per litre in West Donegal. Why are they wanting everyone advised to electric cars when government tells us we're going to have to black out for we don't have enough electricity to keep houses and businesses going this year? I get the point you're making, and that's really what we were talking to. My last point to Connor was, you know, what's if we all switch to electricity, what kind of a problem might that leave us in? Right, you are tuned to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio, Ireland's #1 local radio station. A busy hour to come on the show. Stay right where you are, but it's time for a news update, and at this point we say good morning once again to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Letterkenny University Hospital remains the state's most overcrowded, with 56 admitted patients awaiting beds there this morning, 18 of them on emergency department trolleys. INMO figures show in Sligo there were 18 people awaiting beds, 12 of them on ED trolleys. That's a northwest figure of 74 out of a national total of 456. Well, Donegal Deputy Patrick McLaughlin is again calling on the Health Minister Stephen Donnelly to come to Letterkenny, visit the hospital and hear from those working on the coalface the crisis that they're facing. Gardaí have confirmed they're no longer treating the death of a man in Ballyshannon as suspicious. The body of the man in his 60s was found in a house in the town on Tuesday afternoon. This morning, Gardaí told Highland Radio News that following a post-mortem examination, they've ruled out foul play in the case and a file is now being sent to the coroner. There were 470 COVID-19 patients in public hospitals last night. That's up from 291 a month ago. Numbers in ICU rose above 100 for the first time since March. In Letterkenny, there were 16 COVID patients in the hospital, 4 of them in ICU. The World Health Organization's special envoy on COVID says he doesn't favour national lockdowns, but says local restrictions could be needed once again in specific areas if there are major problems. Latest figures up to midnight on Monday, meanwhile, show Donegal now has the 10th highest COVID rate in the country, with a 14-day incidence rate of 644. That compares to a national rate of 587. Almost 20% of medical card holders were prescribed antidepressants last year, with over 10,000 prescriptions in Donegal alone. Nationally, over 317,000 prescriptions were written, with just over 1.6 medical card holders in the state. GPs say the high levels of prescription are partly due to a lack of counselling service. Donegal GP Dennis McCauley told Greg on the 9 till noon show this morning that there are a number of reasons for such drugs to be prescribed, but he said there has been a major COVID impact on the mental health of people in Donegal. And around 56,000 jobs could be lost across rural Ireland because of the government's new greenhouse emission targets. That's according to an analysis by KPMG carried out for the Farmers Journal. They say if emissions are cut by 30% over 10 years, it could result in a €4 billion loss in economic output. And there are the main stories. Back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much indeed, Donald. We'll be back with our next guest after this break.
At Centra, we have everything you need for Halloween, like selected treat-size bags, like Maltesers and Crunchy, only €2 each. Pringles 200-gram selected range, only €1.50. And until Sunday, Bulmer's 20-bottle box, only €18. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy gold sensibly.
Store and Go Springtown Dairy, the north of Ireland's only temperature-controlled smart access individually sized storage units.
Store and Go offers storage for personal storage, house moves and renovations, business storage for excess stock or filing systems. Once signed up, you can access 24 hours a day through an app on your phone, gaining access through 4 levels of security to your most precious possessions.
Call Store and Go Springtown Dairy on 02871 278 900 to discuss your needs and get bespoke advice, or get a free quote at storeandgo.net.
Hi, Raymond Sweeney here from Ben Sweeney Euronics. For heading off to college, a good Chromebook or laptop is essential, and we've got a great selection available in store, including the HP 14-inch touchscreen Chromebook with a 360-degree flip screen for only €419, or the HP 15.6-inch Pavilion touchscreen laptop with 1 year of Microsoft Office free for only €479. See these and other great offers at Ben Sweeney Euronics in Letterkenny and Dunlow.
Whether revolutionary engines, hybrid technologies, or all electric, discover what drives you with the 221 Mazda electrified range. Stand out from the crowd with award-winning Coda design that makes your Mazda a work of art. And go the extra mile with next-level Sky-Active fuel efficiency. To order your 221 Mazda, visit your local Mazda dealer or Mazda.ie to find the best 221 offer to suit your lifestyle. Mazda. Drive together. Terms and conditions apply.
Winter in Dublin presents Halloween. Double toil and trouble. Deep in the heart of Dublin, something is bubbling. Enjoy bright lights and Halloween frights in the city. Live performances that'll have the hairs on the back of your neck standing to attention. Delightful tricks and treats of all types, and a series of eerie events that'll satisfy monsters both little and large. Join us for Halloween this winter in Dublin. Plan your trip at visitdublin.ie.
Do you want to work in a company that's all about recognising hard work and rewarding it? Then check out the exciting field sales roles available in Prepay Power. All come with a great salary, bonus structure and lots of other benefits. To apply, visit prepaypower.ie/careers or call Estelle on 01297 1582.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. And as you would have heard on the programme and on the news bulletin, there's been a great deal of upset and it being described as totally unacceptable, the cancellation of oncology clinic in Letterkenny University Hospital 2 weeks in a row. Now, normally I read statements out at the end, but I'm going to read this statement out at the beginning because, of course, there's a lot of people out there very anxious about it. We got onto the HSE. They said the medical oncology clinics will resume from next Wednesday, the 3rd of November, following the cancellation of 2 clinics, one last week and one this week. The hospital is arranging for patients affected to be rescheduled. The hospital apologises for the distress and inconvenience caused to patients. Now, one of those affected is Danny, who joins us on the programme now. Danny, thanks for taking the call this morning and talking to us. I appreciate it greatly, Danny.
Thanks very much.
Right, now, your situation, Danny, you have cancer. When were you diagnosed and what cancer were you diagnosed with?
3 years ago, October the 15th, with bowel cancer.
Okay, and in terms of treatment since then till now, what's been the situation, Danny?
Well, I don't want to talk too much, but I've had dozens of chemo sessions. I've had 4 major surgeries, and I had my last surgery on the lung. It was at the beginning. I think it was the 2nd of October. I think, and then I had a 3-week break. It was the plan was then I was to go back to my clinic on the 27th. Now, we took off for a week's holiday when we had the chance of a break. And then when I came back, there was no word, there was no letter received in terms of my clinic. So when we phoned, I've made a few phone calls, and we discovered that not only my clinic, but the previous week's clinic had been cancelled as well. And as you know, I mean, time is of the essence for all cancer patients,
yeah.
You know.
So following your 2 surgeries in Dublin that you mentioned, the purpose of the clinic then on the 27th of October, what would that have been for, Danny?
I suppose to find it was just the plan going forward.
Yeah.
My chemotherapy had been stopped about 9 weeks ago because it wasn't responding. I had a PICC line, and then I was on tablet form, a drug called Lonsurf, but I wasn't responding to treatment from the chemo anymore, and so that was it. My chemo was stopped at that time, and then we got a second opinion from Mr. McEntee up in the Mater in Dublin, and he agreed to do the surgery, and then further to that, I had lung surgery. So I had a 4-week break then, so the surgeries were very successful, thanks to all the health service people, you know. And so the 27th was just to see, you know, to find out what is the next move, you know. Am I going to get a break? With the I didn't know, you know, it's possible they put me back in what they call maintenance chemotherapy, or maybe just give me a break to see how the surgery took. So that's where I am.
Yeah, so all these dates are hugely important, and as you say, you know, for all cancer patients, you know, it's very important. Time is of the essence, I think was the phrase that you used yourself. So yes. Presumably this clinic not going ahead as scheduled has caused great distress. You don't know when it's going to be rescheduled for next. Will it be the 3rd of November or a subsequent date? And what will change between now and then in your health and well-being?
Well, that's it. We don't know. I mean, I say it's stress, you know, it's just I'm okay, you know, I'm doing well. I would have to stress that. We just don't know. I mean, will the tumours take a hold again? You know, just what would be the best way to combat it? You know, are we just going to be wait and see? But I think I'd like to stress, you know, we wanted to publicise it, you know, and it's for the staff as well, you know, because you don't want your staff being overworked, stressed, you know, making hasty judgments because they don't have enough time to deal with each patient. So, you know, it's for the staff as well as the patients, you know. I just wanted to... Yeah,
and make sure that they're getting the right support, and if there's enough of them to do their job by CELTA. This is really not about a staff conversation. This is about a management and organisation conversation, Danny. That's what you want to have, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I see. My understanding is that they lost. I feel well. I know who the person is. They lost a fairly crucial sort of cog in the wheel, in terms of oncology services, and it wasn't. I suppose my complaint about that is that it wasn't a surprise to them. That they were going to lose this. So there was. They seemed to be very lackadaisical in sourcing a replacement for this person.
Are you encouraged then, at least, to hear from the HSE that these clinics will resume from Wednesday next?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. I mean, it's been delighted to hear that they've got a day to go ahead again. You don't want to be in a kind of limbo period where you don't know if or when they'll be resuming. But I just know from my own experience, just even being in the oncology ward, how much damage is, how much frustration I suppose is caused if they even lose a bank holiday Monday, in terms of trying to rearrange appointments and catch up in people's treatment. So, you would imagine sitting in your hands for 2 weeks, and as you know yourself, and I know from being in about the oncology ward, the number of people who are being treated, it's going to be a huge backlog for them to cope with. But yeah, I'm delighted that we know that there is a restart date. But
all right. Danny, the best of luck going forward, and lots of love from us all here and the listeners to you and Anna, and hopefully you get in there quickly and things go well for you. We appreciate you helping us highlight this morning.
Yeah, thanks very much.
All right, take care, Danny. That is Danny there. Right, to some of your comments here. A caller believes it'll be 10 years before electric cars are of any use to us. There are not enough charging points, and those that are around are not working. That being said, I get where you're coming from. It's maybe the cost, the upfront cost, though second-hand ones are coming onto the market. The range is pretty good at the moment. I drove one for a year to and from work. It was fine. I charged it on a plug at home, a regular plug, so it is manageable. And since then, range has improved greatly, and charge times have improved too. So maybe 10 years is a pessimistic outlook. Who's to say, though? Greg, if the government don't bring down the price of fuel for hauliers and anyone that uses fuel for their industry, it'll be gone in 6 months. Yeah, and that's the point I was trying to make. I'm thinking of taxi drivers, private bus operators, the haulage industry. They're having to absorb these costs, and they can't reduce the amount of time they spend on the roads. So, it must be tight. A caller says, hi, Liam Doran from the Irish Nurses Association spoke extremely well yesterday on News Talk at around 5 p.m. People should listen, or Highland should invite him to talk on the show. He's excellent. He's on with us regularly, but I take your point. Told us exactly what's happening to health workers, hospitals and our healthcare system. He also spoke about how many nurses and doctors would be needed to staff the extra ICU beds, and government have done nothing to secure the staff needed. All right, thanks for that. Good morning. Myself and my daughter were in London for an Irish dance fesh this past weekend. London could only be described as a COVID soup. No regard, no respect, no clue. The city's jam-packed, as was the fesh. It's all financial now. To hang with health, it's now all about wealth. Oh, to hell with health, it's all about wealth. We're from Glasgow, where mask wearing is at least mandatory. Needless to say, we've taken several lateral flow tests since returning home on Sunday evening. Thanks for that, Anne-Marie. Morning, Greg. Hospitals are under pressure because of the government not putting enough money into them. Too many bosses up there walking around on big wages. They give themselves big pay rises, but not enough money to provide extra bed. Pay the nurses. Thanks, they say. Hello, trying to get through to the doctor these days is absolutely ridiculous. I've been trying my doctors for the last 3 days to get an appointment, and I've not been able to get through. You're either put on hold with an automated response, or then when it finally does ring, somebody keeps picking up the phone and hanging it up again. I was so cross that I decided that I was going to change doctors, but tried to ring other surgeries to be told that they're not taking any new patients on until summer of next year. What are we supposed to do? And there's a lot of that. There is a lot of surgeries that aren't taking anyone on. I think they have to take on medical card patients. I believe they're appointed to a surgery. I might be wrong on that one, but that's what I believe to be the case. But in terms of other people, non-medical card holders, it can be difficult. We spoke to a gentleman on this programme, couldn't get into a GP in, I think it was North Inishowen. He understood the problem, but simply just could not get a GP, for them to be their GP in inverted commas, because they'd moved back to the area. All right, we're going to be talking about the condition of roads, footpaths in and around the Twin Towns after these.
Get ready for winter with National Fuels, delivering home heating oil in Letterkenny and surrounding areas at competitive prices. National Fuels, 9137 400, proud sponsors of today's show.
Crisp mornings, crunchy leaves, cosy jumpers. Wintertime can be magical, but it's also the time of year when we're most at risk of catching the flu. At your local pharmacy, children aged 2 to 17 can now get vaccinated for free with just a simple nasal spray. Don't let the flu stop you from enjoying your time together. Get your whole family vaccinated against the flu today. Your local community pharmacy, always here for you. Brought to you by the Irish Pharmacy Union.
The heat is on at Screwfix, and we've got all your heating needs covered. Plus, buy an Acova column radiator and get a free Drayton TRV worth $48.95. Or a Kudox Premium radiator and get a free Drayton TRV worth $32.95. Order on screwfix.ie for click and collect or shop in store. Screwfix, here when you need us. While stocks last, prices valid until at least 31st of October. Visit screwfix.ie for more information about the free TRV promotions, T's and C's, delivery charges and restrictions.
The Three Amigos, Jimmy Buckley, Robert Mazzell and Patrick Feeney are coming back to Donegal. See this award-winning show live at Jackson's Hotel Ballyboffay on Thursday the 6th of January. Tickets, price €35, are now on sale at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. The Three Amigos live in concert. It's not to be missed.
Special Halloween offers at Doherty Centre Moville. Inspired by Centra Irish Angus sirloin steaks with peppercorn butter, €6. Centra Fresh Irish Whole Chicken 1.6 kg, €4.50. 12-pack cans of Guinness, Heineken, Carlsberg, Budweiser and Bulmers, €15. Cadbury snack size bags, €2. 4-pack bars, €1.50. Everything you need for Halloween at Doherty Centre Moville. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Orla's driving her new Citroën C4 crossover. She's on a call with her friend who's asking if her in-laws from hell have left yet. Orla's husband is in the front seat. The in-laws are in the back seat. Orla is on hands-free. This could be a very uncomfortable drive. Except the Citroën C4 crossover comes with advanced comfort seats and best-in-class rear legroom, making it a very comfortable drive indeed. Citroën, engineered for comfort. See citroen.ie.
Your local Citroën dealer is Highland Motors, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
When it comes to pensions, we all need some guidance in making the right decisions. At John F. Lowery Financial Services, you'll get expert advice on all aspects of pension planning, including choosing a provider, ensuring the contract you have is appropriate for your employment circumstances, and claiming the tax relief. Our team of highly qualified advisors have access to all of the insurance companies, so we truly can be your one-stop pension provider. To arrange a confidential pension assessment, visit jfl.ie or call 91 John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
11:19. You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Right, Councillor Patrick McGowan joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Councillor. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Good morning, Greg.
Good to have you with us. Right now, you are calling on the County Council to carry out a survey urgently into the condition of footpaths in the Twin Towns, which have been described as being in a serious state of disrepair. Is this an ongoing problem, or is this something that's come to light more recently?
No, it's an ongoing problem. Many years ago, I would say back now, at least 20, 25 years since the last time there was any major improvement works done under town and village renewal, both in Ballybofey and Stranraer. Because of the heavy traffic, you can imagine now all of the heavy articulated lorries going through. It's a national primary road. Like very few towns now, like Letterkenny, Donegal town, most towns now have been bypassed, but the heavy traffic going through has an impact on the roads and the footpaths, the curbs, the crossings and that. Plus the town itself is just, you can imagine with the two large secondary school there, Finn Valley College, St. Columba's, all the football games, just the footfall in the town, and just such a busy shopping town that a lot of the footpaths from one end of the town to another, plus the side streets, they're all cracked up, or where there's tiles or up and down. There's nothing but faults and patches all over them. And I have noticed, particularly in the last couple of years, the amount of people reported have fallen, broken limbs, arms and various things. And even there, last year, there was someone in a wheelchair in front of the shopping centre car park, and one of the wheels got caught in a wee track, and it actually tumbled over. And in the same place a couple of weeks ago, another woman fell and broke her wrist. And these are the kind of things that are happening all too frequently. Plus, as well, with a young lady in the town, Erin Harn has done has done a survey in the town, pointing out a lot of how inaccessible parts of the town are. So it's the lack of footpaths, the lack of accessibility, but in the immediate term is the dangers that are out there.
Okay.
And we were told the last survey was done was in 2008. And it is a bit ridiculous to think that's the last time there was a proper survey carried out.
Stay with us, obviously. You mentioned Erin there, I believe joins us on the phone line now. Good morning to you, Erin.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, okay. So you are fully behind, in fact, perhaps even one of the leading voices calling for a survey of the footpaths. As a wheelchair user, what's the reality?
Well, the reality is, if I go out into the town, there's difficulties every day. Like, it's as simple as if I go into town, I could be going in on the footpath and somebody else could be coming towards me. So I have to find another way. If I can't go straight on, I have to either go onto the road and then go onto the footpath again. Or just things like that, Greg, but it's just frustrating.
So do you think, other than, as well as sort of surveying them for their general condition, Erin, do you think we also need to include as part of that how wheelchair, buggy, or even for those who are visually impaired, how friendly they are to those groups of people as well at the same time?
Yes, for sure. It's not just about the wheelchairs, it's about everybody.
Yeah, but in terms of manoeuvring, are they in a bad state? Is the condition of the footpaths bad?
In some places they can be. In some places.
Now you contacted the council as far back as October. You've probably outlined a lot of that already. But what did you say to them in October?
Well, I went to them in October about a certain part up beside my school at Finn Valley College. On this part, it's on a slope, it's a slope for the cars and all. And if I was going down the footpath there, I would be having to go, my wheelchair would have to go with a slant. And if I went too far onto the edge of the footpath, I would have ended up on the road. If I wasn't careful.
What about crossings? Because, to someone who is walking, they might see the dip down and think, right, that's okay for a wheelchair user. But when people are in the chair, often that doesn't go down far enough, or it's not done correctly. Is that a problem in Ballybofey particularly, or both Ballybofey and Stranraer?
Yeah, it's a problem that I have seen, for sure.
So it can be hard to get back up onto the footpath, presumably?
Yeah.
All right. And this is something that needs to be acted on as soon as possible, Erin, from your perspective. There's, that you have as much right to be able to manoeuvre around your town to and from school, to and from the shops as anyone else has.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, okay. Well done, Aaron. And you can stay and listen to the rest of the conversation. I just want to bring Councillor McGowan in because, we elect you guys to sort problems like this out, Patrick.
Yeah, and and as well as that, in the last couple of years in particular, there's an awful lot of money out there now under active travel. And if you look around every town village now, you see an awful lot of new footpaths being built everywhere. But what annoys me is the fact that the town centre has just deteriorated so bad.
Why do you think it's been neglected for so long? Why do you think it's been neglected? Why do you think it's been neglected for so long?
I just don't know. That it's just like the report we got back. This isn't the first time it was raised. It was in the minutes. And Island Radio was at that meeting the last day. It was in the minutes of the last meeting and the meeting before, and it's gone on. And all we're hearing, it costs money to carry out a survey. But as the councillor says, how much money has been paid out in claims. But worse than that, what price do you put on somebody? You invite people into the town to do their shopping and come up to Christmas and Michael Henry's and everywhere. And there's just far too many
but it's also
trips and falls.
It's
and
also
I put it down to senior management within the council, the senior engineers. You think they don't be in the town. If they walk up and down themselves, it is pretty obvious. You don't need to be an engineer to notice some of the very serious cracks. There's one place now in front of the shopping centre, and we've been asking for 2 years, and they're passing the buck saying, well, who owns that footpath? Does it belong to the shopping centre? Yet the senior engineer told us 2 years ago the council should get on and fix it, but it's not been responded to by the local engineers, and it's just simply not good enough.
Yeah, I just think though it's very important for Aaron and others that everybody's entitled to, I think it's almost enshrined in our constitution, to have equal access and equal safe access, and that just simply isn't the case there. I mean, there was a big announcement, wasn't there, recently to sort of spend a fortune changing that car park and the layout there to make it more user friendly. I mean, are we at a point where those millions are going to be spent creating that, and I think it will be really quite impressive when it's done, that public area there in the heart of the Twin Towns, and to get there you're on cracked and crappy footpaths. It doesn't make any sense. Putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, no, well, look, exactly. There's 9 million there to transform that entire car park in the shopping centre and across the road, and bring in much needed jobs across the road. And you need the car park for the jobs. You can't have it up. And certainly that by the time that gets final design and tendering, that'll be a couple of years. But we need the repairs done right now. But that's only a very, very small area at the very centre of the town, the area that Aaron's talking about, and round the town where these other trips are falling. There's a lot more to need to do it, and you don't need 9 million, a couple of thousand this month and next month. And this is what's going on in Letterkenny. I noticed the report was in your show there a couple of months ago, and the councillors of Letterkenny raised it, and they were told that there's a visual inspection taking place all the time and repairs carried out as necessary. But I don't know what's wrong in this area. They just don't get on with it. It doesn't take that much to fix a crack in the footpath.
Aaron, it must be frustrating for you because you're hearing talk, and this is not directed at Patrick McGowan. The councillors can do a certain amount in raising these issues. It comes down to the executive and the council itself really to go out and fix these problems. But this is chat, it's waffle, isn't it? You're looking for these problems to be fixed. Even a footpath salting programme presumably might be relevant to some at winter time. A holistic a thinking on how we all can use these shared spaces safely and that they're maintained. It must be very frustrating to just hear talk, Aaron.
Yeah, it is very frustrating to hear talk, and it's very frustrating to hear them talk about it and say they're going to do it. But, when are they actually going to do it? That's my take on it.
All right, Aaron, listen, thank you for joining us. You're still at school, did you say?
I'm still a student at school, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, well, stay in touch with us, will you? Because I think you're a really important voice for the county, but particularly for your region. And we're here if you want to sort of, if there's any other issues or to keep on this one or any other issues that you think need to be addressed, stay in touch with us.
Thank you, Greg.
You have this platform available to you. Okay, Aaron?
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you very much indeed. Well done to you. Brilliant person, Aaron, there. Right, so what next, Patrick? Again, we don't want to be having this conversation I love chatting to you, don't get me wrong, but we don't want to have to keep having this same conversation. So how do we kick this on, and so that we see something change on the ground sooner rather than later, heading into the Christmas period?
Yeah, well, look, by coincidence, we had another meeting this morning with the area manager, Claire McKeever, that's in charge of this area, and I was explaining to her, even since they went out in the news report this morning, I was explaining to her as well, too, that Erin would be on the show, and I asked her to listen in and to listen to the problems and get on with it. You know, it doesn't take an awful lot of money in the short term to do the repairs where people are actually tripping and falling on the street and breaking bones. The other thing might take a wee bit longer, but it can be factored into the local roads programme, because the government spending an awful lot of money now on so-called active travel. Every week now you hear grants, and it's up to the local engineers to apply, get that money and spend it straight away.
Okay, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it greatly. Councillor Patrick McGowan there, and also we heard from Erin, who is a wheelchair user and is, you heard her describe trying to get around Ballybofey, and that's not acceptable in this day and age, is it? Something needs to be done quickly, and it's not a climb down or only doing something because it's on the radio. It doesn't matter, or in the newspapers, wherever it is. It doesn't matter. As long as it's done, that's all that matters, and we'll applaud that greatly here. Someone can go out and fix it and sort those issues out for Erin and others. I'm a wheelchair user. Last year I had to go into the shop and buy salt to put it on the footpath to be able to get about. Also, cars parked at the back of the shopping centre often block the edge of the footpath for me to get off. I think I know the place you're on about, at the back of that shopping centre, as you mentioned. Yeah. I live in the Hillhead area of Castlefin. The footpath there was never finished and the street lighting hasn't been switched on. Any possibility of getting it included in this survey? For some reason, our council in Letterkenny is spending the money resurfacing roads that don't need done. Should they not be fixing footpaths, cutting hedges along pavements and fixing up old bad-looking buildings in town? And I do know what you mean, but sometimes what we see as not need doing, it's part of a roads programme and it's scheduled in. I think we could probably do both. Fix the road, presumably it needs doing if it's being fixed, and sort out the stuff that you're talking of. People need to stop parking on footpaths, blocking and damaging the paths in doing so. It's a big problem in Ballybofey, especially on match days. Yeah. Is it time? I mean, we don't want enforcement, do we? We don't want to hear about people being ticketed left, right and centre. But if we're hearing from people who are having difficulties, using footpaths and stuff because of what motorists are doing, is it time then maybe that people were hitting the pocket if their conscience doesn't work, hitting their conscience doesn't work? Ballybofey listener says if the power is cut in the wintertime, won't have any access to heat. Listener says he's chesty and this makes him very nervous. Please don't be nervous about power cuts happening because of data centres and stuff. That's a load of waffle. It won't happen. And I'm really, really confident in saying so. Because there's enough to be worried out there. Please don't be worried about. Obviously, listen, if there's a storm or something, your power can go out. But we're not going to have a power shortage. There's means and ways, and they'll come up with a solution. I'm not saying necessarily the government, but those that look after the national grid, even if they have to bump the big users off, don't be sitting at home worried about power being cut because of a shortage in the winter. There's enough to be worried about. You shouldn't be. It's up to you what you worry about, of course, but I'm trying to reassure you there's enough to be worried about without worrying about that. For Councillor McGowan, how much does it cost the state per hour for a council labourer? I don't know how much they get paid. Right, I'm not sure he does either. We'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after these.
The 9 till noon show with National Fuels, Pierce Road, Letterkenny. For all your solid fuel needs at the keenest prices. 9137 400 or nationalfuels.ie.
This Halloween, save money and shop at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Nivea Shower Cream range, half price, $1.30. Pantene range, just $2.40. Simple, kind to skin range from $2.50. Big brands, spookily low prices. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny, where the best costs less. Free half-hour parking on Main Street. See mcgees.ie or on Facebook.
At Tesco, a little help is supporting life-saving work for sick children all over Ireland. That's why we proudly support Trick or Treat for Children's Health Foundation Temple Street. Over the past 6 years, Tesco colleagues and customers have raised over €6.5 million for the purchase of over 330 pieces of vital medical equipment. Please donate €1 to Children's Health Foundation Temple Street, online or at the till in Tesco all this week to help us buy even more. A little help makes a big difference. Tesco, every little helps.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure Main Street Letterkenny, your destination ASICS advisor. Looking to go further and faster, or maybe some cushioning and support. ASICS Gel Keano 28 with added flight foam cushioning to the midsole, accompanied with a new and improved stability system. New range of ASICS for men and women in store and online. Look the part, play the part. In store, online, mobile. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
If you're not back in the office yet, why not treat yourself to a spot of lunch today at Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny? Break away from the kitchen table and have lunch served to you at this award-winning family diner. Rediscover lunchtime at Kelly's Diner, Mountain Top, Letterkenny. They're closer than you think.
Highland Radio is ready to exceed your expectations by putting you behind the wheel of the new Kia Exceed.
Worth over €28,000. To win, you need a ticket.
Click highlandradio.com and let's get you on the road.
Tickets from €10 on sale now.
On December 23rd, someone will win that car on the 9 to Noon show.
We'll pick a ticket for you live on air
and ask you the question:
where is Highland Radio based? Dingle or Donegal? The new Kia Exceed awaits. So get your ticket and wait by the ones.
It's that simple to win that car.
Only on Highland Radio.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till Noon show. Delighted to welcome onto it now Bridget Kerrigan, manager of the Sligo Cancer Support Centre. Good morning to you, Bridget. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having us on this morning.
Right, now, important information here. I think maybe particularly for people in the south of the county, it's a new service that's being provided.
Yes, we're based in Sligo Town, Sligo Cancer Support Centre. We've recently launched a new transport service for patients travelling to St. Luke's in Dublin for cancer treatment. So it'll service south of the county or anywhere south of the gap, I suppose, and they can access the bus via booking their seats. The seats must be pre-booked. If there's no seats booked on the bus won't travel, obviously. So it'll leave Sligo on a Monday morning and come back on a Friday afternoon and drop patients at St. Luke's in Rathgar there in Dublin.
Yeah, and this is primarily funded by the Sligo Cancer Support Centre, isn't it? So it's a great initiative to get off the ground.
Yeah, it's something we wanted to achieve for quite a few years. I was very, very mindful of the fact that we don't have a transport system from the northwest to Dublin. I know there's an excellent service running there from Letterkenny and that service in the north of the county, which is brilliant. But I was very mindful that we don't have that service, and it's something that we raised at national level every time we got the opportunity. So it came about last summer. I was approached by another community project, CLASP, which is the community of Lough Arrow social project, which is based just outside Sligo here. And they wanted us to do a joint application for a bus. So I said, yeah, I'd be delighted to, but this is what I'm going to use it for, is to bring cancer patients for appointments in Dublin. So yeah, we were delighted that they achieved that, and we have the use of the bus initially on a Monday and a Friday. So hence that's why that's the route it's going to be to St. Luke's.
Now, this is just the latest in a number of services the Sligo Cancer Support Centre offers. And as I say, of course, Sligo's there in the title, but it is anyone presumably far enough south in Donegal that avails of cancer services in Sligo, which is not a tiny number either. So do you reach out to people once they're in the hospital? Are you inviting people, if they've had a recent diagnosis of cancer, to reach out to your centre and get all the information and support and counselling and maybe info on that bus if required? Is that the first step people should make, I wonder, Bridget?
I suppose people come to us if it's for the bus. Yes, obviously they're going to be reaching out for support from their initial diagnosis, and once they have their treatment plan in place, But also we provide support for cancer patients right throughout the Northwest. We also, pre-COVID, one of our counsellors would have gone into Letterkenny Hospital up into the oncology ward and provided one-to-one counselling for cancer patients. That has moved remotely during COVID, so that's still ongoing. And we also provide supports to cancer patients in the oncology ward in Sligo University Hospital and also the Northwest Hospice. We have quite a few clients from Pettico, Ardra, Mount Charles, Donegal Town, various areas like that. And I suppose one plus that came out of COVID was that, you know, the remote support opened up doors for people. So, you know, if somebody is in Letterkenny and they're unable to access supports more locally, by all means, pick up the phone and call us. Our priority is to support cancer patients. That's what we're about.
Yeah, and I think really kind of the function of the question too, and I really appreciate your answer, was maybe to encourage those listening who might find it difficult. They're dealing with, you know, loneliness, the fear, the panic and all of that, to sort of encourage them to pick up the phone and make that first call, if you know what I mean, Bridget, because for some people it might be they've never leaned on a service before and might be reluctant to do so, but it's there. We've got brilliant people like yourself and your team and the staff and the volunteers there to help.
Oh God, without a doubt. And it's a free service for cancer patients and their families. We have a team of excellent counsellors. There's a mighty team here in the centre in Sligo, and also we have a second centre in Tubbercurry, which obviously is for the south of the county. But yes, that's our role, and we work, you know, we take referrals from the oncology departments in both hospitals. We also provide bereavement support for those that are sadly bereaved with a direct family member through cancer. And again, as a result of COVID, we've expanded our service somewhat, as we have a lot of remote supports. We have some lovely mindfulness class, some relaxation for nighttime. People struggle to sleep when they're on chemo and steroids, so we're starting that this week. So we're developing new ways to support cancer patients as best we can.
Yeah, and listen, primarily we were talking about the bus route, but I just wanted to let everyone know about the general services and options they have with the Sligo Cancer Support Centre. But we'll go back to the bus, because I know that's the point that you want to drive home, no pun intended, Bridget, today. So what do you want to sort of say finally about this new service that's available?
Really, we're delighted to be given the opportunity, as I've already said. We take bookings. The bookings need to be in by the close of day today, by 5 o'clock. So if you need to travel on Monday to St. Luke's for your radium treatment, the seat needs to be booked today, so as we can let the driver and let CLASP know that we have a run on Monday. As I say, it's a new service. I'm very mindful of the fact that we need to do a bit of legwork here to let people know the service is available. So they can call us directly here on the centre, 07191 70399. They can click onto our Facebook page where they can message us through there, or also our website details. This is a service that's going to be funded from ourselves. It's going to cost in or around €400 a week for us to provide the service. And the other side of it is we're a not-for-profit charity. So we get 25% support from a mixture of government supports, the HSE, the Irish Cancer Society / the NCCP, which is the National Cancer Control Programme, and also SHOUT, which is based here in Sligo in the hospital, the Sligo Hospital Oncology Unit Trust, which support us very well every year. But it leaves around 80% of a gap each year prior to the bus coming on board, adding on to our budget. Last year it cost $350,000 to provide the service that we provide. So that's a fair task every year. It leaves a gap there of around just over 200,000 to reach. So funding is important, but I'm hoping that will come with the service.
Okay, well, you've got the message out there, and anyone who's listening, if they think it's relevant to another person, pass that on, because, you know, these things do take a while before people know that they're there. And then, in turn, when people see how good they are, that can have a positive knock-on effect in terms of fundraising as well. It's kind of like that a wee bit too, isn't it? When people see such a great new service there, they're more inclined to, do little fundraisers and what have you as well.
Yeah, and that's my hope, and word of mouth as well. And plus as well, when people travel on a bus together, they're sharing that road, and I don't like the term journey, but they're sharing the road with people who's in a similar situation to themselves. And it also supports them as well, that they know they're not alone as such, even though cancer can be a very lonely road, and it's a very worrying time for the person going through it and for their family. So so there's pluses with it as well.
Yeah, and I've seen with the close family members myself, there's a bond that's there, and sort of that can form as well. Listen, Bridget, thank you very much indeed. It's great to be talking about new services helping people in some of the most difficult times. Thank you for your time today, by the way. And just remind us of the contact details very finally, in case people were scrambling for a pen, if they want to either book a seat for Monday, but to have that information for future reference.
Yeah, and can I just also say I spoke with Jim there last week, who drives the bus from Letterkenny there to Dublin. So this isn't to displace any other service. This is to add to what's already there. Yeah, to complement it. So Jim has got our number there as well. So you can contact us on 071 91 70399, and we'd be delighted to help.
Brilliant stuff, Bridget. Thanks for your time today.
Lovely. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity.
No, stay in touch with us. Thank you very much indeed. Bridget Kerrigan there, manager of the Sligo Cancer Support Centre. Perhaps not exclusively, but perhaps more relevant to our listeners in the south and southwest of the county. And good morning to all of you listening. Good morning, Greg. Our daughter Shauna is after spending over 11 weeks in hospital. And we'd like to say a few words of thanks to everyone that was so kind and caring to her. To Mr. Bodner and his fantastic team of doctors, all staff in ICU, Level 4 and Level 3, the High Dependency Unit, ward manager, all nursing staff, nursing assistants, physio, OT, dietitian, catering and kitchen and cleaning staff, clerical staff, all in surgical too, all theatre staff and porters and security staff. A big thank you all from Shauna and the Friel family in Convoy. Thank God for such a great, dedicated, caring staff. And thank God for such a great and dedicated family being there for Shauna, but also to take the time to mention everyone, the brilliant staff down at Letterkenny University Hospital. And hope Shauna's are doing well. Thank you very much indeed for that, and happy to pass that on as well. A listener said he tried contacting a local helpline for people struggling and suffering with loneliness, and in spite of trying numerous times, no one answered the phone. The service is one of the main services in Donegal. Where the services are available, it's a different story as to whether someone actually responds, and this is a big problem in our county. Right, okay, we're going to be getting an update on the university status for LYIT after this break. Stay with us.
Get ready for winter with National Fuels, delivering home heating oil in Letterkenny and surrounding areas at competitive prices. National Fuels, 9137 400. Proud sponsors of today's show.
50,000 job losses and a €4 billion hit to the rural economy. Find out what carbon limits on farming will mean for rural Ireland. In this week's Irish Farmers Journal, we publish an exclusive KPMG economic impact assessment on the government's plan to reduce agricultural emissions. Find out what carbon reduction targets really mean for farm incomes. Will Ireland reach climate targets without cutting cattle numbers? And find out what the new CAP plan means for farm schemes and payments. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Century Complex has something for everyone. Treat yourself to a tasty meal at Backstage Bar and Grill, an exciting movie at Century Cinemas, and Century Play is now open. Get in touch with our team on 07491 21976 or check out our website centurycinemas.ie for more information on Century Complex. At iMotors, formerly Inishow Motors, we have a fantastic range of used cars with competitive finance packages available. Choose from a selection of SUV, hatchback and saloons in petrol, diesel and hybrid, with warranties on all vehicles. Call in today to iMotors Drumkeen and Malin or check out our digital showroom online at imotors.ie. iMotors, we have your next car.
Lidl's Halloween special offers won't scare you at the till. Our 20-pack of Carlsberg bottles are an amazing €15. 16-pack Tato variety bundles with everyone's favourites only $3.99. And there's 500 grams of roasted monkey nuts for only $1.99. That's everything you need for Halloween, literally in a nutshell. Lidl, more for you. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
Join the Letterkenny CDP at their Halloween Monster Bash in the Courtyard Shopping Centre this Friday 29th from 12 till 5 in association with the Letterkenny Chamber of Commerce. Family-friendly fun event with fancy dress competition, House of Frightmares and spooky games. Everyone welcome.
Ireland is proceeding carefully with our plan to manage COVID-19. However, with infection rates increasing, along with hospitalisations and ICU admissions, we will keep using our COVID passes and all redouble our efforts to protect the progress we have made and keep moving forward. Vaccination is the best way to protect ourselves against COVID-19, but we must also continue working together to protect ourselves and each other by acting fast, isolating and getting tested if we have symptoms, wearing our face coverings where appropriate, making sure that indoor spaces are well ventilated, making full use of the space available to us, and covering our coughs and sneezes and keeping our hands clean. And remember, if you are in a place where guidelines are not being followed and you don't feel safe, take your business elsewhere. We will continue to keep you updated with public health guidance and the information you need on gov.ie/recovery, supported by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. Building a new home? Choose Grant's A++ rated heat pump and underfloor heating. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, sunny spells and scattered showers. Some of those showers will be heavy for this afternoon. Temperatures 12 to 14 degrees, light to moderate south to southwest breezes. Right, delighted to welcome on to the programme now the president of LYIT, Letterkenny Institute of Technology, Paul Hannigan. Good morning to you, Paul.
Morning, Greg. How are you?
Fantastic, and fantastic news today.
Yeah, great news, Greg. As you know, today we're hosting our graduation ceremony on campus today and tomorrow, but we've just come from a meeting with Minister Simon Harris, where he has announced that ourselves, IT Sligo and GMIT, are to receive the designation as a technological university from next year.
I mean, that is massive, isn't it? And it's the culmination of an awful lot of interviews, an awful lot of hard work between yourselves and the other education centres. It's been massive work, hasn't it?
Yeah, we started back in 2012, so we're almost 10 years at it at this stage, and there were a lot of bumps on the road as we went along. But I think the length of time that we were involved in it and the level of engagement across the three institutions, staff, students, everybody involved, has actually made it a stronger collaboration and a stronger institution moving forward. So we're very positive about the future in terms of what the technological university will bring to this region. We're very confident in Letterkenny in terms of the strengths that we bring to the collaboration. And we're very, very confident that this will be a major boost to the West and Northwest region. And we can continue to build on the 50 years that we've been here as Letterkenny IT.
There's a great level of preparedness there already. A lot of groundwork has already been done.
Oh, no doubt. A lot of work was done in terms of making the application, which was a major part of the work. And then we had to defend that application with an international panel back in July. And everybody put their shoulder to the wheel then. And we just received the report from the international panel as part of the announcement this morning, and it is really complimentary in terms of the work that was done in preparation for the submission in the first instance, but also challenging us for the future and what we need to do to make the technological university the best one we can be. So we're really looking forward to that. It's great to get the endorsement from the international panel and the minister's announcement this morning, and we'd just like to thank everybody that's been involved in any way, and also people outside of the college, the community, the business community, the people, the students who've been the students of the college here over the years, the graduates who are coming out today, everybody who's contributed in any way to the development of LYIT over the last 50 years. And hopefully this is recognition of all their work, and we look forward to making sure that we continue to work on that legacy.
We're going to have to discuss this in much greater detail when you're less busy, because it's a great day actually for everyone down there today, and when we have more time. But it's just the timing of the announcement. What in a minute or two, what do you think this means for LYIT and I suppose the wider community, sort of, in the first year, 2-3 years of this? What changes and what's the significance, Paul?
Well, we're operating on 2 campuses in Donegal at the moment, in Letterkenny and Killybegs. When we extend into the new TU, we'll be on 8 campuses crossing the west and northwest of Ireland. We'll have over 20,000 students enrolled, over 2,000 staff engaged, real expansion in terms of research activity, engagement with businesses right across the whole regional area. So it's the scale of the institution, I think, would be the major thing, Greg, in terms of what it brings to us. There are things that we can do here in Letterkenny and have been doing, But there are other things that we will be able to do now when we engage in the broader technological university, and it's bringing that scale and that capability to this region, and that it will continue to prosper and develop as a result of that.
All right, brilliant. As I say, we'll talk again in more detail. We just wanted to
accommodate me because we're just in the middle of the sessions here, so really
that's exactly it. All right, Paul, thanks very much indeed. Paul Hannigan there, who's stepped away from the important work of graduations today to have a quick chat with us there, but it's hugely significant, and of course we will be speaking more on it in the future, but it's breaking news and we just wanted to bring you it here first, and happy to do so. Caller says it's time for a bypass of Ballybofey. That's part of the 10T, isn't it? Yes. On the far side of Ballybofey, I suppose you could call it. I presume it would be good, wouldn't it? Is there universal sort of support for it? Obviously, in terms of route selection, that's always going to be controversial because it's going to displace people, see their homes or their farms split or their homes gone. But in terms of people living in and around Ballybofey, Stranorlar, I think it's already a destination town. I think with less traffic, that would even become more of a case. Or is there concern that traffic that might be going there might just go past it? What's the feeling out there? I know that's a conversation that's been had, but maybe there are people that still want to express a view on that. A caller said there should be more awareness signs everywhere saying parking with kindness to wheelchair users. Indeed, of course, because then that eliminates the defence of ignorance. And when I say ignorance, I don't mean bad manners. I mean ignorance to the rules. In other words, I did not know that was the case. So, yeah, we have to make sure that everyone is given a fair crack. The whole health system is a joke. Why are our doctors not seeing people at this stage? All other employments have to get on with it. Doctors have a duty of care to their patients. We shouldn't have to discuss our personal issues with receptionists. Doctors seem to be on to a good thing here. It's not good enough. They need to get back to doing their jobs. Again, that and I say it over and over again, people's experience, dependent where they are, can be very, very different. Look, that's where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thanks to all of you who joined us